Hello, 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 everybody. Happy Saturday evening. We got a big lineup tonight, you guys. Carol. Okay, yeah, we're going to be up quite a bit, at least till 9 o'clock, maybe 10. So I hope everybody had a good Saturday. Having a late show. Now, one long one. See how much we can get in. I got a few things at the store and got my hair cut finally. Just wait to get people in here. Lucy. And tip two. A lot of good stuff tonight again, Tim. Carol, did you see the clips on Michael Jackson on TikTok? That one clip said that he wasn't inside the coffin. I was going to play him, but I don't know if anybody wanted me to play those clips or not. Hey, squads. Yeah, I decided to go do one long show now instead of having two shows. Hey, Peanuts. Glad you're back. Yep, we're just going to have one long show instead of having two. So I won't get burnt out. Oh, Chico, what do you want now? Oh, come on. Deer came already. They got 2 already out there. They're gone. Okay, we're gonna do some short clips. We'll go back. We'll go back and forth. I got 5-minute ones. I got short ones. 10 to 15-minute ones. Sit down, Chico. Relax. I didn't see our funny lady yet on TikTok. See you. All right, the first one's going to be off the phone. It's only a 20-second clip. How Trump said, watch the water.
Sleeping better.
Okay. All right. Where do we go first? Let's do I guess we'll do the short ones. Hey, why'd it go? Got my haircut finally today. We'll get some shorts in and get to the 5-minute ones. We do got Billy Bean so far 124. Shoot.
And maybe small pizza.
Juice boxes? Maduro? What the hell are you talking about?
Revolution children need hydration. You understand, right, Mr. Presidente?
No deal. I'll give you nothing and you'll be grateful, okay?
But Mr. Trump, senor.
Peace deal approved. Congratulations. You're welcome. See, that wasn't so hard. Now, this is diplomacy. McDonald's, the greatest food ever invented. Quite frankly, the best thing this country has seen since electricity.
No McDonald Trump. It is dangerous food for Venezuela people. I don't like.
Dangerous? Maduro? Your national dish is dirt soup. Eat the burger. Take a bite. Go ahead.
Oh, madre, this is like hope. It is like cooked in heaven, senor. I love it.
Exactly. American greatness. Honestly, if Venezuela had McDonald's everywhere, half your problems would disappear, maybe all of them.
Can we nationalize the Big Mac?
No, Maduro. That's not how this works.
Please, for revolution. Please, Senor Trumpo, today was very confusing, but also very beautiful. Thank you so much for tasty Big Mac.
That's what we call diplomacy, Maduro. You raise your voice, you toss in a Guantanamo reference, very powerful line, by the way. You roast socialism, grab a McDonald's meal, and somehow everyone leaves smiling. It's a gift, truly incredible.
We are friends, yes?
Friends, Maduro, sure. But every time you launch one of those narco submarines, the ones that sink faster than your economy, we have to redo the whole operation. And guess what? I'll fix it. I always do.
Okay, Mr. Presidente. Sounds good. Viva friendship. Viva Big Mac.
Viva functioning electricity. Work on that next, okay? Well, folks, Venezuela's a mess. Total disaster, but tremendous content. We made peace, we made history, and we made Maduro eat a
Okay, humor one.
Much more profitable, much better for the brand. Believe me.
You are a criminal. You don't want to stop bombing my fishermen.
You're calling me a criminal? Maduro, that's rich. That's really rich. I bomb narco boats and suddenly I'm the problem. You should be thanking me.
Oh, and by the way, we tell the audience to subscribe to Baby News Network.
You want what?
Subscribe.
Sub what?
Subscribe. Mr. President, subscribe.
Do you mean subscribe? Or are you a stupid person?
Señor Trumpo, you come here making threats. You threaten my revolution. My soldiers now prepare to defend our homeland.
Your soldiers? Maduro? Come on. You put 60 guys on TV waving rusty rifles from 1972 and threatening to attack Washington, D.C.?
They are brave warriors of the people. Oh, and Señor Trumpo, remember, you are not the only one who has the missiles.
Brave? Hey, dummy. Half of them were wearing flip-flops. One guy was holding the gun backwards. And you are making claims that you can't afford to make. That's not bravery. That's stupidity. And stupidity gets you one thing, Guantanamo Bay.
No, Señor Trumpo, this is misunderstanding. Just small performance. For morale, for television audience, I promise.
Inspirational? You openly threaten the United States, prepare troops like you're reenacting a bad movie, and now you're shocked I might send you to the nicest tropical prison we have?
I was only talking big talk for ratings, Señor, for drama. Very normal in revolution, Mr. President.
For ratings, Maduro, I invented ratings. You can't outrate me. But here's what you can do. Stop threatening America on TV before I ship you off in a bright orange jumpsuit. And believe me, you wouldn't look good in orange.
Señor Trumpo, please, no Guantanamo. I'm no good at swimming.
Then start behaving, Maduro, because the next time you prepare your troops, I'll prepare your prison cell.
Look, Mr. President, sir, our economy, better than economy of the US of A.
Advanced, Maduro, this graph looks like Biden trying to walk downstairs, straight down, no recovery, no hope. Unbelievable.
See, now economy go up. Very, very successful.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is what socialism does to the brain. This is who we're dealing with.
Socialism create very good equality, Mr. President. Everyone suffering same amount. Very, very fair.
Yeah, equal suffering, credible concept, terrible results. Couldn't run a lemonade stand with this philosophy.
If you want the peace, I demand you lift the sanctions.
Do real estate.
Okay, I got one more.
A narco boat. Boom! Pete, that was beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. One of the greatest shots I've ever seen. All right, folks, we have arrived. Venezuela, a place so run down. Even the pilot said, "Sir, are you sure you want to land here?" That's how bad it is. Truly unbelievable. I've seen Joe Biden rallies with more life than this airport. Not good.
Señor Trumpo, how you dare come here after you bombard my ships, my beautiful ships, full of very innocent cargo.
Maduro, come on. Those were narco ships packed, absolutely packed with Peruvian pixie dust. Don't play dumb, Nick. Everybody knows what's going on down here. Everybody. And quite frankly, you should be sending me a fruit basket because I just gave your Navy the biggest workout they've had since ever. Total makeover for those guys.
They were fishermen, Señor Trumpo, very simple man. The cargo was for seasoning the fish, Señor.
Seasoning, huh? Give me a break. Maduro, those ships had more Peruvian pixie dust than Hunter Biden on a weekend visit to the White House, okay? Everybody knows it. You could see the powder from space. So sad. But I'm here now because I'm considering buying Venezuela. Fix it up, make it livable, maybe even make Venezuela great again. Huge potential. Believe me, mostly because at this point, it's cheaper than a Big Mac.
You cannot buy my country. I will not allow it.
Oh, I can't buy it? That's what they all say right before I buy it. Look at your economy. Little man, I'm the only bidder you've got.
We capture all the booger sugar, all of it, boats, submarines, everything. I mean, we don't use it. We don't. Why would we?
Yeah, right. Give me a break. You know what, Maduro? You and Hunter Biden would get along beautifully, believe me. You'd be best friends in about 5 minutes. He'd be your number one customer, no question.
Well, Mr. Papi, I will never say no to more customers.
Maduro, your Navy is in terrible shape. This submarine looks like it was built by a bunch of stupid people. Did you glue this thing together?
Señor Trompito, business opportunity, very profitable, very discreet.
No deal. I don't touch the booger sugar, never have, never will. Well, would you look at that?
Okay, I thought I'd throw in some of those images ones. I got one more 4-minute one. I don't know if you guys want me to play it.
The system that helps support $38 trillion of U.S. debt, the petrodollar. Stick with me. Over the weekend, Donald Trump ordered airstrikes inside Iran that reportedly killed several senior figures in the country's military leadership. Most of the coverage is focused on the political fallout inside Iran, but the bigger impact may actually be in the oil market. Because Iran isn't just a geopolitical rival, it's one of the world's major oil exporters. Before the strike, Iran was exporting roughly 1.5 to 2 million barrels of oil per day, and about 90% of that was going to China. And here's the key detail. Much of that oil wasn't being settled through the traditional Western financial system. Iran has been cut off from SWIFT, the global banking network used for most cross-border payments. So many of those transactions happen through alternative systems or non-dollar currencies. Now, here's where it gets interesting. For decades, the global oil market has largely revolved around something called the petrodollar system. Since the 1970s, most oil around the world has been priced and traded in US dollars. That forces countries that want to buy oil to first obtain dollars. And that demand matters. Oil exporting countries accumulate those dollars and often recycle them back into U.S. assets like treasury bonds. Now, that process, known as petrodollar recycling, has helped finance U.S. government borrowing. In other words, when oil is priced in dollars, it creates global demand for dollars. And global demand for dollars helps absorb U.S. debt. Now, let's look at the geopolitical angle. Two of the largest oil exporters operating outside the dollar system have been Venezuela and Iran. If Venezuela ends up with a new government aligned with the West, and if Iran eventually transitions to new leadership, those oil exports can move back into the dollar system. That means oil sold in dollars, payments moving through SWIFT, and billions more flowing into dollar-denominated assets. At a time when the U.S. government is running trillion-dollar annual deficits, that demand becomes incredibly valuable. So the real question might be not whether this is about nuclear weapons or authoritarian dictators. It might just be about the currency that underpins the global financial system.
Okay. This is a short clip on, I don't know what you call that, an update on Venezuela. I got a 5-minute one, Flying Eagle.
Here's a perfect man. I stand here as a forged man, forged by fire, forged by discipline, forged by the trials most people never see. I've walked both roads, the disciplined path and the undisciplined one. I've seen what happens when passion outruns structure. I've seen what happens when good men speak truth, but don't understand the room they're speaking in. And I carry a vision, not a fantasy, not a fairy tale, a vision rooted in responsibility. I carry a vision where strong men don't scream at the system. They learn it, master it, and reform it with precision. Where veterans come home not lost, but activated. Not angry, but anchored. Not discarded, but deployed into their communities
They're
as
out there
guardians
tonight.
of order
They
and
got 3 of
integrity.
them out there.
I carry a vision where civic
No,
engagement
Chico.
isn't chaos. It's disciplined presence. Where we don't just attend meetings to vent, we attend to build.
Yep, most of them.
Where we study before we speak.
Yeah.
We prepare before we present. We move with strategy, not just emotion. Because emotion without structure burns out. But emotion with discipline,
Chico.
that changes
Please.
history. I carry a vision where fathers stand tall again.
Thank you.
Where masculinity is not confusion, not aggression without aim, but protection, direction, integrity. Where young men understand that strength is not volume, Strength is
How's this
control.
one?
Control of your voice, control of your temper, control of your mission. I carry a vision where transparency
Yeah,
isn't
he wished he
rebellion,
could.
it's stewardship. Where local communities understand budgets, procedures, charters, and they engage not as enemies of the government, but as the rightful stewards of it. Because this country was not built for spectators, it was built for participants. I carry a vision where awakening isn't about rage, it's about clarity. Clarity that you are
Except
responsible,
this was an
clarity
important
that
one.
you matter, clarity that the system is not your babysitter and it is not your master either. It is a structure, and structures can be understood. And what can be understood can be navigated, and what can be navigated can be reformed. I carry a vision where those who have suffered don't become bitter, they become builders. Where trauma doesn't become an excuse, it becomes training. Where loneliness doesn't break a man, it deepens him. I carry a vision where the ones who can see don't isolate themselves, they teach, they mentor, they guide, they write the book they wish they had. They become the example they never saw. I carry a vision of disciplined courage, not viral courage, not loud courage, but consistent courage. The kind that shows up to the meeting prepared, the kind that files the paperwork correctly, the kind that studies policy before criticizing it, the kind that corrects without
A
dehumanizing.
minute,
Because if
a
we want
minute.
integrity in leadership, we must model integrity in engagement. I carry a vision where unity does not mean uniformity, where black, white, brown, rural,
Down,
urban,
Chico.
veteran, civilian all understand that we rise or fall together, where equality isn't a slogan, it's practice, where justice isn't rage, it's order aligned with morality. And I carry a vision for the men listening right now. The men who feel behind, the men who feel frustrated, the men who wonder if they missed their moment. You didn't miss it. You're being prepared for it. The pain was preparation. The setback was sharpening. The isolation was building depth. You were not late. You were loading. And when disciplined men stand, not in anger, but in clarity, communities change. When awakened citizens act, not recklessly, but responsibly, systems recalibrate. When fathers teach sons integrity and sons model it forward, generations shift. So this is not a dream I'm offering you. It's a charge. Stand up, study, prepare, engage, become so grounded, so disciplined, so anchored in truth that when you speak, it carries weight. Not because you're loud, but because you've done the work. That's the vision I carry. And I'm not waiting for someone else to build it. Are you? I love y'all.
That was
903
good,
out.
important there. Doug has one a short one, 10 minutes. And then I got Q coming up. Oh wait, I'm gonna play this one. It's only a minute.
Explodes, it would trigger a chain of events leading to full alien disclosure before Easter 2026. He says a radiant feminine being he calls the Lady began appearing to him years ago and told him that this specific conflict would mark the beginning of a profound shift in human consciousness, a moment when hidden knowledge about extraterrestrial life would no longer remain buried, and governments would be forced to reveal what they have known. Bledsoe has described the Lady as connected to ancient symbolism and divine feminine imagery, telling him the war would be the spark that exposes deeper cosmic truths to the world, all pointing toward a timeline that culminates around Easter of 2026. This comes less than 2 weeks after Trump called on the Department of Defense to move forward with additional UAP releases, pushing alien disclosure back into the spotlight and raising questions about whether the sequence he described is starting to unfold.
Oh, that was interesting. Sit down, Chico. Oh, what do I got, Doug? Dang it. Ah, my phone's acting up here. Hold on, you guys.
New players get 500 bonus spins plus up to $1,000 back in casino bonus.
Michigan needs a no-holds-barred governor like President Trump. We'll unleash Michigan's economy.
Dan Bongino is always good for dropping a truth nuke on people that need to be shaken out of their. It's kind of like Dad when he'd shake you. Maybe your dad didn't shake you. I remember my dad looking me in the face and going, "Straighten up, boy." Usually in my teens. Dan Bongino is trying to shake all of the people who are under this zombie, weirdo, anti-Trump movement, and he really nails them with the truth here. Welcome to Doug in Exile. This is where the happy patriots are. Here's Dan Bongino.
Here's President Trump yesterday. And by the way, I love how the Doomers, they are such, I saw Ben Shapiro address this yesterday. I love how the Doomers and the Panicans, they're just so afraid because they're such cowards and chumps, and you get the rest. They're so afraid to take on President Trump because they don't have the balls, because they want to keep their grift going, that they dance around the edges again like President Trump has no agency whatsoever. President Trump is controlled. He's a puppet. But they'll never say that.
Yeah, they'll say America is controlled by Jews. They won't say Trump is controlled by Jews. America is controlled by Israel. They'll never say Trump is controlled by Israel. When Trump's doing all these statements, they're going like Netanyahu is manipulating Trump, as if Trump is the kind of guy that is so easily manipulated by another country. This guy doesn't do anything anyone tells him to do. Even Israel, the idea, so you have to have a conspiracy mind that Israel is some kind of an evil, hypnotic, space laser force that can even take over the mind of Trump, which is ridiculous. But what he says is interesting to me is he goes, they're cowards because they have to maintain their grift. What is the grift? They have to make money off of you, the MAGA supporter. That's their grift. They can't go after Trump because you would stop watching them because they know that what unites us all is really a loyalty to Trump. So they're trying to undermine everything Trump does in Iran, in whatever, in Epstein files, undermine everything Trump does without calling out his name so they can still make money while criticizing all of his policies and undermining him.
Israel, Netanyahu, Israel. Well, who are they controlling? Somebody. Is it Trump? Oh, no, somebody. The man. Who's the man? They won't say it because they have no balls. So they attack surrogates. Rubio, Hegseth. They do this all the time. I saw it for a year.
Pam Bondi, Bongino, they'll attack all of his surrogates. Witkoff, they'll even attack his son-in-law, Jared Kushner. I'll name the list.
They have no balls. They mean President Trump, but they won't say it because they know they'll get crushed, and they want to keep the grift going. Here's President Trump yesterday telling you directly, there's no war for Israel. It's a war for us, and they've been a pretty damn good partner in it. Check this out.
Israel forced your hand to launch these strikes against Iran. Did that pull the United States into this war?
No, I might have forced their hand.
Did Israel force your hand? No, I might have forced their hand.
You see, we were having negotiations with these lunatics, and it was my opinion that they were going to attack first. They were going to attack. If we didn't do it, they were going to attack first. I felt strongly about that. And we have great negotiators, great people, people that do this very successfully and have done it all their lives very successful. And based on the way the negotiation was going, I think they were going to attack first. And I didn't want that to happen. So if anything, I might have forced Israel's hand.
Looking for tax help? Now there are TurboTax experts right in your neighborhood. They get to know your unique situation and get you every dollar you deserve. So hand off your taxes to a local TurboTax expert today.
Here at the Score Bet, it's not just a tournament, it's personal. We've got the easiest way to bet what you believe. No fluff, no gimmicks. Just
have balls, you coward grifter bums. Just say what you mean. Just say it. Just say what you mean. Grow a pair of testicles, you losers.
They're not going to say it. Why? I'm going to go into it a little more here. Here's Brendan Dilley. I love his stuff. Hey, remember that time that Steve Bannon spent an entire year lying to the audience about the job that Kash Patel and Dan Bongino were doing at the FBI? He was telling them, they're undermined, they're bad, they're whatever. Now, remember, there's two guests on Bannon's show who I love, Julie Kelly and Mike Davis. You guys know I'm loyal to those two. But Bannon, I'm throwing under the bus hardcore, throwing him off the bus. I think what's been revealed about him as a fake leader of the MAGA movement. Remember the time he's lying about Kash Patel and Dan Bongino were doing at the FBI? And then thousands of emails were released showing Steve Bannon being great friends with Jeffrey Epstein and backstabbing Trump. That was awesome. Yeah, Steve Bannon has been behind the scenes. He's one that Dan Bongino's talking about. He won't come out in public and nail Trump. So he'll do it behind his back to Epstein. That's what the emails revealed with Bannon. He was way anti-Trump. So got nothing for you. I'm pro-Trump. Bannon's anti-Trump. Goodbye. Here's one posted, another banger, truth bomb, posted by Dan Bongino. This is Donald J. Trump. Ex-MAGA influencers lose clout in election primaries, but Trump still a difference maker. This is about Trump in Just the News, John Solomon's Just the News, how 11 of his candidates that he supported in the Texas primary did very well. 11 of the candidates in the primaries did very well that he endorsed. One of them he did not offer his endorsement was Dan Crenshaw. He lost. So Trump is still the magic maker. And the ex-MAGA influencers, he's talking about the people that are going against his policies, trying to run against Trump. That is the Epstein people. Thomas Massey's one of them. Now, this is an ad. This one just cracked me up, actually. I find this very funny. This is Thomas Massey hopes the Epstein files never go away. And I hope his ties to radical Islam never go away either. We're going to reveal Thomas Massey's ties to radical Islam, which explains why he's anti-Israel, anti-Trump, anti-MAGA. Yet another brutal ad from the RJC is playing everywhere in Kentucky District 4 for the primary. We're going to primary Massey with this guy. Now, to the conspiracy-minded people, RJC, this is what I find funny. It's the Republican Jewish coalitions. They're going to go like, oh, of course they're against Massey. Of course they are against Massey because he's in bed with the Ayatollah. Here's the ad.
America is at war with a fanatical regime that seeks nuclear weapons.
That is true. Again, I'm going to play this ad. You tell me where the lie is. Are they a fanatical regime that seeks nuclear weapons? Fact.
American hero Ed Galrine stands with President Trump.
Okay, Ed Galrine was in our military. Look at him. And he's a conservative. And this is a Trump endorsed this guy against Thomas Massey. So now and I believe this is one of the wars that we have to fight while we're doing Iran. I support our troops. I support our troops. I support Ed Galrine. I'm going to send money. I'll always tell you guys if I send money to a candidate or to a political action committee, frankly, because I want to multiply my donation by having you guys donate to the same cause. For sure, we're supporting Ed Galrine against Thomas Massey.
Galrine stands with President Trump, our country, and our military. Thomas Massey, he stands with Iran and radical leftists in...
Okay, is this a lie? That Massey stands with Iran and the radical left. That's Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar. He literally stood with them and Ro Khanna joined their group.
Congress opposing Trump, just like he did on the border and taxes.
And he would not support the big, beautiful bill.
Now, Kentuckians have a choice. Galrine and Trump or Thomas Massey.
And the Ayatollah. I love how dirty politics, man. They're cutting off the gloves. So Galrine is going to be our guy coming up. Let me keep moving here. This one is Asmund Gold. People who follow my channel also follow Asmund Gold. I don't know anything else about him other than that. Why is Marjorie Taylor Greene posting pictures of mass graves, claiming that there are soldiers in Iran or innocent people in Iran, but they're from Indonesia in 2021, trying to pass them off as happening in Iran today? How despicable. I'm one of the last to defend her, and now I realize I was a fool. I feel the same way. I defended her too. Here's what I mean by, remember when they accused us of getting paid $7,000 per post for our pro-Israel positions? I get this accusation all the time, guys, that AIPAC and Israel are paying me to be pro-Israel. I get it. You'll see it in the comments. You'll see some people go like 7K. 7K is the code word. 7K, meaning you're getting paid 7K to support Israel. I wish I was getting 7K to support Israel because I'm doing it for free. Israel. I will always tell you if I get paid $7,000 to promote any position, okay? The $7,000 post to be pro-Israel, it's not true. Turns out it was more projection. Remember, the Democrats always accuse the other side of what they're doing? Radical Muslims are literally paying Thomas Massie $7,000 for his anti-Israel positions. Every single accusation is a confession. You can't make this up. And here's the actual names. This is Sam Marouk, Rainim Marouk, Mohammed Marouk, giving to Thomas Massie for Congress. This is in 2025. $7,000, $7,000, $7,000, $7,000. They're lying to you. And now, if you've subscribed to this channel and you watch this channel, my audience has been sitting in the truth for quite a long time. But thanks to Dan Bongino for saying it first and dropping that bomb. They won't go after Trump because they want the money. I'm Doug in exile.
Okay, we got Doug there. Andrew, I don't know what you mean by all the stuff you're saying, but please be respectful. Thank you.
And almost missed this monumental law that was overturned this week, which is going to have rippling effects across the country. And of all places, it took place in Washington, D.C. And I happen to believe that if it can take place there, it can happen all over the country. So this is good news for you blue states. As you guys know, I am a huge proponent of the Second Amendment. I'm a huge 2A guy. I absolutely love to practice, to shoot, to hunt. It's one of our favorite things to do around here. And so with that, I'm always looking and watching as it pertains to the Second Amendment. I know some of you guys may not have interest in that, and that's fine, but just understand that an armed society is generally a polite society, and we see major dictatorial moves after the people have been disarmed. And so I don't want to live in a society where the only people armed are criminals and crooked politicians. I said it. So anyway, getting back to this. So there was a bill that took place, or the law that was written, well, 15 years ago. It's been a while. But it was written in D.C., and it was much like many of the other bills when it was, it was fun and smart to go out for these liberals to put bans on high capacity magazines. And so in the state of, or in the city, the District of Columbia, they said that they would not allow any magazines with a capacity of over 10 rounds. And so they required modifications to the magazines, or you had to buy all new magazines. Well, this young man was caught in the state, or in DC. He was caught with a high capacity magazine, a 30 round magazine. Now, once he was caught, he legally owned the firearm. He had no prior record or anything like that. But because his magazine, which was actually from the manufacturer of the handgun, he was actually put in jail and arrested and charged because of violating this rule. So moving forward, the DOJ and has challenged this, saying that the magazines are if the pistols come with these magazines, if these firearms come with these magazines, then it is a violation of the Second Amendment for the state or for the city or whoever it might be to take away people's rights to own such magazines. And they won this argument.
You know.
They won the argument on the basis that law-abiding citizens buy a firearm, are able to carry that firearm in certain states, but then required to modify the firearm in order to live in another state or go to another city. And it's absolutely ludicrous. And the appeals court in DC actually went along with it and agreed. So I think that this is a huge development because I believe that this is something that should be taken throughout the entire country. The DC court is now saying, or DC is now saying they're going to appeal this to the Supreme Court, where I believe the Supreme Court will overturn all of these magazine bans throughout the country, which I believe is the right thing to do. We should never leave decisions about firearms up to liberals ever. Most of them have no idea what they're talking about. The judge in the dissent on the decision went on to say that these are not the types of magazines that people use in self-defense, that these are the types of magazines that criminals use. I don't understand that. I'm not a criminal. I possess these. I don't ever intend or never think I ever will commit any type of crime, and I hope and pray that I've never put in that position to ever have to defend myself. But if I do, I promise you it'll probably be with one of those magazines. But anyway, what do you guys think about this? Comment below. I'll see you next time. Be blessed.
Okay, the first cue. I got 1 3-minute one from that one lady that does the Canada news, and then we'll do Billy Bean. You know, Chico.
Just not worth compromising. That's why with farmers, you can get quality and savings.
We are farmers. Bum, 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 bum.
Did the Canadian government break NERMs during 2020? That's what I asked ChatGPT. I asked ChatGPT to read through the Nuremberg codes that were written in the Helsinki Agreement that Canada did sign on. It is not a policy or a law. However, it is part of human rights practices. Then I asked it to go through the EA, which is the Emergencies Act, to see if there's any provisions in that act that would allow the government to basically surpass Nuremberg codes. Those of you who don't know what a Nuremberg code is, it's basically a code that was made after World War II because a bunch of the Nazi scientists were testing on human beings and creating, just atrocities. And so they came up with a code, a human rights code, that if experimentation on human beings were to be put through again for any reason, that there must be standards to be followed. And I'm going to show you what the Nuremberg Code is. So the Nuremberg Code has 10 principles, and they are: voluntary consent is absolutely essential. They already broke that one. That's voluntary means I volunteer. I'm not pushed into, and I am not told that I will lose my job, my ability to travel if I don't want to take an experimental shot. The experiment must benefit society. That's what they said. However, I found a scientific paper that basically said that for every person that was so-called saved from COVID, 2 to 3 were actually injured. Experiments should be based on prior research. None of those had any prior research because we were the third phase testing for them. Then, so number 4, unnecessary physical or mental suffering must be avoided. That they broke because there was a lot.
I better not play that, huh, you guys? She's talking about the, you know what? Sorry, Greg and Nan. I don't want to play the whole thing. Okay, we're going to get Billy Bean out. Oh, wait. Let's do this one here. Ah.
Have oil like you wouldn't believe. They don't even touch it. They told me, you're crazy for using oil. I said, you're crazy for not using oil. What's wrong with these aliens? You think aliens would be smarter than us, but apparently they're not, because all they wanted for the oil, think of this, all they wanted for the oil is Marco Rubio and I guess he has some kind of special lineage. They really want Marco Rubio. They love him. And I thought, that's fantastic. Look, Marco's not going to be happy about it, but one person for trillions and trillions of barrels of oil, you have to do it. So Marco's not going to be too happy about it, but he's probably already on his way. I made the phone call. And so the Democrats will definitely block a pipeline. I mean, to build a pipeline for 20 light years through space, they're not going to be happy about it. So, and it'll take way too long. So we're going to build, I called Elon, we're going to build a wormhole. We have a wormhole like no one's ever seen before. And we're going to have trillions of barrels of oil pouring through that wormhole right outside of the atmosphere. It's not going to be a pretty sight, I will tell you that. But we're going to make hundreds of a trillion, maybe quadrillions. We might make quadrillions of dollars. So it's a fantastic deal. I'm looking forward to this relationship with these aliens, really.
Alien talk. Billy Bean 24, you guys.
Welcome to Truth by Billy Bean. Today's date, March 7, 2026, time in Texas, about 2 p.m. Some of the things we'll cover. President Trump today honors the U.S. military. And we have this. Yes, it's expected within the next week. The U.S. government will pass the U.S. War Power Resolution. And we're hearing that the U.S. and Israel have taken down the Ayatollah son plus President Prigozhin of Iran. It's still open as to whether this did occur.
Wow.
We have the U.S. military now also hitting the cartels. And we can say, God bless America. And we have this. President Trump today, this morning, will be attending the honorary welcoming back ceremony for the U.S. military 6 who passed.
I got that video. If you guys want me to play that, I will.
Away in the Middle East. And that ceremony will take place at Dover Air Force Base, located in Delaware. And we have this. We have, and I'd like to say thank you to Leisha E. and Becky D. for extra support for my channel. And we have this. Yes, we're hearing that the U.S. and Israel made a strike into Iran, supposedly on the house of the Ayatollah, which has an underground bunker. And that took place last night. And that was a meeting of the Ayatollah's son, who had been picked by some internal process in Iran to become the next supreme leader, and that he was meeting with the president of Iran, Prigozhin. Now we're hearing conflicting reports. The U.S. and Israel report they've taken them out, while Iran today is stating that the Ayatollah son has been injured but is alive. Iran today is making no mention of President Prigozhin. So we have that going on. And we have that the U.S. is effectively taking down Iranian drones and missiles using a new U.S. military weapon, lasers, called Odin, and also jamming sensors and engaging in electronic warfare against Iran. We're also hearing that the U.S. military currently has the Strait of Hormuz closed while the U.S. military clears the Strait of Hormuz of Iranian landmines and additional Iranian submarines. Now, with regard to that, recall a few days ago that the U.S. military submarine used a torpedo to take down a Iranian Navy warship that was in international waters near Sri Lanka. So we have Iran, India, and then Sri Lanka would be in this area. We heard also about a second Iranian warship that a few hours later, after the U.S. torpedoed the Iranian ship and sank it, a second Iranian Navy ship did make it into the territorial waters of Sri Lanka. But at that time, in my last video, we didn't know what happened to that second Iranian Navy ship. Now we know. So the report came out from Ward Carroll, who also had Sal M. on his show yesterday. The Iranian Navy warship made it into the territorial waters of Sri Lanka. The Sri Lanka Navy went out to the Iranian warship, took control of it, put a Sri Lankan Navy crew on it, and escorted it into the port of Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka continues to protect the Iranian warship there. So that's going on. And now we have this. So we have in Iran, it's believed that no one is in control and that lower level IRGC commanders are simply making rogue hits on Iran's Gulf states neighbors, plus U.S. bases, plus Israel, plus Turkey, plus Azerbaijan, plus Cyprus, plus Greece. And we're hearing that whatever top leader team is left has directed the nuclear scientist inside Iran to juice up the existing 60% enriched uranium to produce a nuclear bomb as soon as possible. Now, it's my belief that Iran has had nukes for decades. They are in, I believe, a secret location, and it's possible those secret locations were only known to the top levels of the Ayatollah mullahs, IRGC, and that those top level Iranian leaders who knew where the nukes were hidden have all been taken out. So now it appears that whatever's left of Iranian leadership is now directing its nuclear scientists, build one now. So that's going on. And we have the U.S. and Israel doubling down now on Iran. And we have this. So that was a tour, a break in my video. Stuff coming on the screen. Okay, so we have this now. The U.S. and Israel continue to hit Iran hard today. And we're hearing that the Chinese embassy is frantically shredding all of its secret documents. It's believed that China is up to its armpits and what's going on in the Middle East. And we have this. We also have that the U.S. And Israel are arming the Iranian National Kurds group, are now gathering on the border between Iraq and Iran. We also have Azerbaijan's military now on the border with Iran, and the Azerbaijan government is now making threatening statements to Iran. And we have that Israel today is also being hit again, as are Bahrain, Qatar, Kuwait, UAE, and we're hearing today the UAE now has put forth a formal declaration of war against Iran. And we have this from U.S. Intel. This week, the U.S. government will pass the War Power Resolution, approving the U.S. military, which will result in a massive deployment of U.S. troops to the Middle East. Now, we've heard in the past 24 hours that across the U.S., all U.S. military training has been stopped. That would correlate to the U.S. military now prepping its troops to be deployed. So that's going on. We have now Germany saying they will join with the U.S. and Israel against Iran. And Iran has, in the past 24 hours, said any European nation joining with the U.S. and Israel will become a target for Iran. And we have this. So we know when we have a war conflict going on that often impacts the global economy. We have now in the U.S. BlackRock, which is believed to be a deep state transnational investment group worth trillions of dollars. And one of its arms, an investment arm of BlackRock, H-Lend, has been said to be worth $2 trillion, is now limiting how much investors can withdraw. In the past 24 hours, we've seen $1.2 billion withdrawn from H-Lend. And that the BlackRock on the U.S. stock market yesterday dropped 6.7%. So that's going on. We have this from Tusi TV. The UAE has made a formal declaration of war against Iran. And we have that the U.S. is now positioning a third U.S. carrier strike group. They're moving the Ford carrier strike group from the Mediterranean into the Red Sea, and they're positioning the Bush carrier strike group into the Mediterranean. So that gives us 3 U.S. carrier strike groups in the Middle East, the Bush, Ford, and Lincoln. So that's going on. And that's happening today. And we have this, that the IRGC, we know, has effectively been decapitated at the top of their leadership. And it appears that they have rogue commanders in the lower levels who are making rogue drone and missile shots across the Middle East.
What?
And we have this. We have that President Prigozhin of Iran did make a TV statement yesterday, March 6th. Now, it's overnight that it's my understanding the U.S. and Israel hit the Ayatollah son plus Prigozhin. So we're hearing the Ayatollah son is still alive, has been injured, but no comment is being made about Prigozhin. And it's unknown exactly and at what level individuals are in charge of the Iranian military. And we have this. Also, within the past 24 hours, Iran has hit Dubai twice and with drones. And they are also using ballistic missiles against many of their Gulf states' neighbors, especially hitting their airports. And we have this from U.S. intel. It's believed that the Ayatollah son and Prigozhin were hit overnight. And we have the U.S. is targeting in Iran its air defense bases located in Isfahan. We have Azerbaijan government prepping to join the U.S. and Israel in a ground invasion. And as I'm putting forth, it's believed this week the U.S. Congress will vote in the U.S. military war powers resolution, which will immediately result in massive deployment of U.S. troops to the Middle East. It appears that the U.S. military will be joined by the Iranian Nationals Kurds group and the government of Azerbaijan and the government of the UAE. So that's going on. And of course, Israel. And we have this. Iran continues to hit U.S. bases in the Middle East. Bahrain, Qatar, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia. And we do see Saudi Arabia's military making strikes on Iran. And we still have confusion about the status of the Ayatollah son and President Prigozhin. We have this about China, that President Xi of China and the CCP and the Chinese military seriously underestimated the U.S. and Israel's resolve and were shocked when they made that hit last Saturday to take out the Ayatollah and many of the top Iranian government military leaders. And it's believed that China is now closely following what's going on in Iran, and they are following it not from the standpoint of military moves, but rather from the standpoint of taking down the government infrastructure inside Iran. Apparently, that's what China CCP fears most, is not hits on the Chinese military, but hits on their power base. So that's going on. And we have this. There is shock in China. And the CCP studies, not for military impact, but for impact on the government power base, according to a Chinese expert. And we have this. Now, the U.S. has taken down 32 Iranian Navy ships. and plus many of their submarines. But apparently, some of the Iranian submarines are still in the Strait of Hormuz. They are being taken out right now by the U.S. And according to U.S. intel, so Iranian nuclear scientists have been given orders by whoever is left to take the 60% enriched uranium right now, raise it up to weapons grade, and make a nuke. And we have this. U.S. B-2 bombers have dropped 500-pound to 2,000-pound bunker busters on Iran, including hitting underground nuclear facilities. So that's near Bukhan, Iran. So that's going on. And we have this from U.S. intel. Hours after being hit, Iran is in the process of putting together a nuclear bomb to be launched where? We don't know. And we have this. The U.S. military, the greatest military in the history of the world, in my opinion, is now also operating on a second front that's inside South America against the cartels. So all of this is connected. China, Iran, Venezuela, Cuba, Mexico, and with China playing a major part in also operating the cartels. And let's not forget, in Mexico, we had a U.S. intel military source validating that inside Mexico, CCP has Chinese military 100,000. So that's going on. So now President Trump this week also is putting together a group called Shield of the Americas that will cover hitting the cartels. And this week we heard in Ecuador that the Cuban ambassador in Quito, Ecuador, had been told to leave the country and take your staff with you in 24 hours. So I assume they're already gone. But we're hearing now that the U.S. military has been making direct hits on the cartels in Ecuador this week. So way to go, President Trump. And it's important to understand that the U.S. military hits on Iran and the U.S. military hits on the cartels in Central and South America are hits on the same beast. So that's going on. And we have this. Yeah, Ward Carroll and Sal M. brought out that information about that second Iranian Navy ship being taken in by Sri Lanka. So it's good to be in prayer. And I have a short prayer here. This is for the U.S. military. Father, we pray in the name of Jesus and many call Yeshua for our great U.S. military. We pray for a manifold increase in the invincibility of our U.S. military and for the military of Israel and for the other militaries and other groups who will be joining with God, the American people, President Trump, and the U.S. military in this ongoing fight against evil. And we pray for all of these groups and militaries to have increased invincibility in battle. We pray, Father, that no stone strike the hill of our U.S. military nor others engaged in this battle. And we pray, Father, that our U.S. military and a shield over the U.S. military and other groups and militaries working with the U.S. military, that we all be led by those who are prayed up in the name of Jesus, whom many call Yeshua. We pray, Father, for fair weather, and that no interference come to the U.S. military and others who are engaged in battle from the sun, nor from our solar system, to compromise the comms of our U.S. military and others who are engaged in a united battle against evil. And we thank you, God the Father, God the Son, Jesus, whom many call Yeshua, and God the Holy Spirit. I say to my family and friends, remain steady out there. Continue to pray. God is in charge, and he is on the move. I love you, and I'll see you soon.
Okay, another good one for Billy today. So how many wants me to play the speech today from Trump? I think I got the video. I don't know if it's. I want to play Trish 10-minute one.
Our future scandal. This is a big story, guys. Okay, so you know the drill. Ilhan Omar's district got $250 million of your taxpayer dollars, courtesy of her. Well, and all of us, because we didn't know about it. She introduced this program, and then what do you know? Everybody's signing up in Minneapolis. They all, for the most part, happen to be of Somali descent, and they get this racket going. And they've all been discovered. So now they're all getting in trouble and they're all going to jail. But somebody decided maybe we can find a workaround, a way around this, and it'll just take $120,000 cash. Listen to the report out of Minneapolis right now.
These defendants engaged in a chilling attack on our justice system.
It's been 3 weeks since $120,000 in cash was dropped at the home of a juror in the Feeding Our Future trial. U.S. Attorney Andy Lugar describing it now as a sophisticated scheme.
And they plotted carefully and deliberately during the trial, waiting for the right moment to act. Fortunately for all of us, Juror 52 could not be bought.
Charged are three of the Feeding Our Future defendants, Abdiaziz Farah, his brother Saeed Farah, and Abdi Majid Noor. Also charged are Abdul Karim Farah, another brother, seen here in an evidence photo, and Ladan Ali, recruited to fly in from Seattle, also seen in this evidence photo. Ali's fingerprints were found on the bag used to deliver the bribe. Ali's rental car was seen waiting for juror number 52 to leave after court and then following her. License plate readers found 19 times over 3 days. Ali's car was near the juror's home.
They studied her, followed her, and determined that she would succumb to their scheme.
Stuffed inside a water bottle in Abdiaziz Farah's home was a typed list of the jurors' names. And though deleted, the FBI still recovered evidence from defendants' phones, including text messages arranging the bribe, about staking out the juror, and a video of Ali actually delivering the bribe. They also found lengthy instructions to the juror on how to convince others to vote not guilty, and it heavily plays on race. We are immigrants, it reads. They don't respect us and care about us.
In the indictment, it alleges that she was targeted for two reasons. One, she was young, and two, that they believed she was the only juror of color. Yeah.
Okay, so there you have it. We're back to that again. Oh, let's all bond over color. And, maybe they can't come after us because we're of color. Is that what you're supposed to say now? Of color? I can't keep track of it. I thought it was just, African-American, Somali American, or whatever. I digress. The point is, You can't do that stuff. Not in the United States of America. I mean, it's taken them a while to get a little used to this. I loved how Timmy Walsh the other day was trying to tell us that, well, you know, culturally it's just sort of different and we need to do a better job of communicating to people that you can't steal. I'm like, well, maybe you should not be coming to this country. Maybe we shouldn't be giving you denaturalization status. Maybe we shouldn't be giving you a green card or asylum if you don't understand the basic concept of let's not steal. All right? I mean, it's kind of basic. It seems to me you don't have the moral character that one would want coming to this country if you don't understand those basics. If Timmy Walsh has to lay it out for you. Ilhan Omar was also caught saying, well, you know, it was just so easy. They made it so easy. I'm sorry. Guys, that's no excuse. No excuse at all. She's the one that introduced the whole shebang, okay? Back in 2020, on March 11th, right around the same time that she decided to get married to that Timmy Minette. I wonder how much he had to do with this. After all, he had been a campaign worker, a campaign manager for her, and they introduced this thing. And the next thing you know, every Tom, Dick, and Harry, or Mohammed and Ahmed, and I'm running out of names, signed up.
Wow, you guys, we got a big night going already, and I just got halfway, not even halfway yet, and we got two good Benny videos, and the one lady does TikTok was on her program has a 12-minute one. It looked it was pretty good, and then yeah, I got a long ways to go yet.
Molly restaurant owner that Ilhan decided to have her big party when she celebrated her win at. He was part of this. Her former campaign staffers, he was part of this. I'm betting he knew from Timmy Minette, whom he worked with on Ilhan's campaign, that this thing was coming down. So these are just allegations, of course, at this point, but it's sort of amazing to think that Ilhan Omar went from negative 50,000 to 30 million in the span of a couple years. As soon as she married to this guy, and as soon as they came out with Feeding Our Future. Oh, she thinks she's the victim.
Sure is,
and of course, all the people in her district are victims that stole $250 million.
Of the 87 people charged, all but 8 are of Somali descent. And that has added to the spotlight being put specifically on your community. Why do you think this fraud was allowed to get so widespread?
Well, I want to say, you know, this also has an impact on Somalis because we are also taxpayers in Minnesota. We also could have benefited from the program and the money that was stolen. And so it's been really frustrating for people to not acknowledge the fact that we're also as Minnesotans, as taxpayers, really upset and angry about the fraud that has occurred.
Please, we're upset. No, you know who's upset? We're all upset because when you tally it all up, when it's all said and done, we're talking about $19 billion, ladies and gentlemen, $19 billion. And you know what? There are people that have to go to jail for this, not just the fraudsters, but the people that look the other way. I mean, certainly the person that introduced this, if it turns out that she profited off of this in some way, shape, or form, which I happen to believe she did, then yeah, she's going to go to jail too. But you know what? And probably be deported and denaturalized along with it. But Timmy Walsh, he's under fire. You saw the hearings just yesterday. And Keith Ellison, he's under fire. And our friend Brandon Gill down in Texas, the representative who happens to be my friend, Dinesh D'Souza's son-in-law. I always have to work that in because I love Dinesh and I love his daughter. And therefore, I love Brandon. Plus, I love what Brandon has to say. Listen to Brandon Gill saying he wants somebody in jail.
What I'd like to see is I'd like to see people going to jail.
Yeah, we want that. Some more of it. Okay, Brandon Gill.
Again, to the tune of billions and billions of dollars, that you can commit fraud, you can defraud American taxpayers. We're going to look the other way, and we expect you to vote Democrat. That was sort of the bargain that was made. I think we were able to highlight that during this hearing. It was very, very clear what's been going on for a long time. This was not just, Governor Walz not doing his job. It was much more sinister than that. It was a way to buy off votes, and it was unbelievably corrupt. And again, we're the ones who are footing the bill for it.
He was pressed further by Rep. Byron Donalds in that room. Watch.
We lowered the standards for proof of administrative fraud. We lowered what it took to show that fraud was happening.
And what did you do with the results of lowering the standards to prove fraud? What did you do?
Put 79 people in prison and.
But Governor Walz, the fraud continued to increase. It increased under your tenure. Do you acknowledge that?
Did the numbers increase? Yes.
Your takeaway from that?
Yes, of course the numbers increased. We saw organizations such as some of this autism centers, where you saw payments to Medicaid going up like 500 times over the course of his administration. There were not 500 times more autism patients during that period, but that's what was being paid out. I mean, this is so over the top, it's really hard to wrap your head around how egregious this was. And again, the administration knew about it. They didn't do anything. They went after whistleblowers, and we're paying for it. Well, I'm glad to see that Governor Walz isn't running for re-election, because somebody who is that flagrantly corrupt shouldn't be in any elected office. But second of all, I think what we want to see, and we're going to continue doing this work, we're not done yet, is I'd like to see prosecutions, even more than we've seen now. About 100 people have been indicted so far. This was far, far bigger than that. I mean, you had open markets where different members of the community were trying to see which autism center they could get bigger kickbacks from. I mean, this is so much deeper than just what we were able to get into in a short hearing one day. So what I'd like to see is I'd like to see people go into jail, and I think that's what the American people want to see.
You bet it's what the American people want to see. Absolutely. A lot of people are going to have to go to jail over this. And I'll tell you, if Keith Ellison and Timmy Walz, as the committee concluded, in fact, deliberately looked the other way because there were political opportunities for them to do so, as in political funds for their campaigns, then boy, oh boy, do we have a problem, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, that was the first Trish. The next two are Benny's.
Years to come. Durability never looks so good. That's smart.
Together, we come back. We push forward. We can. Corewell Health.
I'm sorry I said the mullahs are morons! I take it all back! Please stop chasing me! I'm sorry I did it! Forgive me!
What do they say? All's fair in love and war. War makes unlikely allies of us all. And Bill Maher is now, once again, an ally of President Trump, shocking his audience, repulsing his audience, actually, as he announces his support for Trump's actions in Iran, and then also plays a bunch of celebratory clips of the Iranian people celebrating the Ayatollah, someone who has oppressed and slaughtered them for decades, generations, doing the Trump dance. Bill Maher joins in doing the Trump dance live on air. Again, his audience just lost their minds here. It's really funny to watch. In fact, Bill Maher's entire good faith political exploration has been fascinating to watch, something that, well, I particularly am very interested in. Here's how it went down.
This week, war. Did you hear about that thing? We bombed Iran, and it's going on. Now, have you expected me to say I hate it? I don't. Sorry. When he puts boots on the ground, yeah, then I'll hate it. Now, I know too many happy Iranian Americans. Sorry. And you cannot name one horrible thing that has happened in the Middle East in the last 50 years and not connect it to this fascist theocracy. They're like 6 degrees of they don't eat bacon. And it's popular. I mean, Iranians all over the world are doing the Trump dance. Have you seen that? The whole world is jerking off 2 guys at once now. It's amazing, yeah.
So Bill Maher can't help himself there. What is Bill Maher seeing? This is LA. This is LA. Look at this. In LA, you have thousands thousands and thousands, tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of people in the streets cheering for President Trump, handing out roses. Look at these marches. Nobody covers them, but these are the Iranian marches in LA for Iranians, displaced Iranians in Los Angeles, marching, obviously celebrating what's going on and marching against the Islamic Republic, waving Iranian freedom flags and American flags and so on. Australia, Canada, Britain, Switzerland, Germany, France, you can see them everywhere. And then they're holding up Iranian people. Had a Xi Jinping doll that they were yeeting, right? But yeah, crazy scenes. I mean, again, you can see, this is from the protests inside of Iran, but you can see, like in LA, like this is probably something that Bill Maher sees. These are some Bill Maher's areas, there, where he lives. He didn't stop there on this headline-making monologue. Bill Maher, I support Iran strikes. I just don't get what liberals don't get about liberation, says Bill Maher, scolding liberals, saying, how about this? This fascist theocracy has done nothing in the Middle East and is going to get better while they're still there effing everything up, he says. There you go. I don't get what liberals don't get about liberation. Real Time with Bill Maher added so much happiness from the Iranian people. Again, Bill Maher could probably see those parades out of his window. Here he goes, continuing his monologue.
Mullahs are fucking morons. Some people on the fence about that? Okay, here's my evidence. They've known for months. We have all the entire military surrounding their country. Everything is aimed at them. We know we're ready to take them out. They have their big meeting. They have everybody who's important in the country meet in one place. His office. I mean,
5 minutes, man. 5 minutes.
You've heard of a Zoom meeting? This was a Boom meeting. And then they did it again. They had another meeting of who was left. They call, I swear to God, this is not a joke, the Assembly of Experts. Otherwise known as the League of Extraordinary Idiots. And they get blown up again. I mean...
Okay, first, we'll audit state government and use the savings to help eliminate the state income tax. 4747 back in your pocket every year. Then let's reform Michigan's property tax.
Bill Maher is going there. Bill Maher agreeing with Trump's Iran strikes. If you expected me to say I hate it, I don't. Sorry. And then Bill Maher going directly after Kamala Harris in what is a savage joke.
War, when it comes to anything, when it comes to the war, when it comes to anything in this country, everybody assesses everything by way of, did my team do it? Then I love it. If their team did, I hate it. I mean, Kamala Harris made a statement. She said, this is a war the American people don't want. And who knows more about what the American people don't want?
No.
I just don't know how the dude gets away with this. I guess he doesn't, because you make that kind of a savage Kamala Harris joke. What was it? It was the Emmys, People's Choice Awards, where they were like insulting Bill Maher, telling him to stop talking. Wanda Sykes was telling him to stop talking from the stage. And this is why, because he's actually pretty good at this. And it's Bill Maher's like sort of good faith anti-woke. It doesn't make him a Republican, but like his anti-woke operations has made his show eminently watchable and his jokes kind of funny. And he had on Adam Schiff last night, and it was just a complete Schiff show. Adam Schiff, senator from California, and he read him a quote, a statement that he said was from President Trump, but it was actually from President Obama, and Adam Schiff agreed with it when it was from Obama.
The president had the constitutional authority to direct the use of military force because he could reasonably determine that such use of force was in the national interest. That's too vague for you?
Totally vague.
Okay, because that's from Obama about Libya.
Well, Obama made the argument initially that he could go into Syria without authorization. I and many others pushed back on that argument. Ultimately, he did not go forward with going after Assad, even though Assad was gassing his own people, because he thought he might lose the vote in Congress. But I respect the fact that that was important to him, and the fact that he did not have the support of Congress meant that we weren't going to go forward.
Got him. So here's a quote. Is that too vague for you? Oh, that's an Obama quote, like, because he's attacking Donald Trump for not making like the major outlines. It's like incredible. Like, so once again, it's Bill Maher defending President Trump. He apologizes to his audience for the support for Trump's action in Iran. Did you hear about that thing? We bombed Iran. And if you expect me to say I hate it, I don't. Sorry. I know too many happy Iranian Americans. Pretty remarkable, honestly. And this is why. Huge Persian community in LA. And it's like the biggest parades in the country. And, you know, look at this. Iranians marching and celebrating the death of Ayatollah Khomeini March 1st. How many of these people, like, I don't know, work on Bill Maher's show? Does Bill Maher know him? I don't know, man. But hundreds of thousands march in LA against the Ayatollah. Exciting. Pretty cool. Anyway, the Bill Maher political evolution is fascinating and kind of funny. And, well, one of the better things that we see actually in corporate media right now. It's your boy Bunny. Let me know what you think in the comment section. See ya.
Hey, we got a second one coming up here.
Freedom. We'll see.
I spit out my coffee when I saw the Somali the voter ID requirements in Mogadishu. You know, Mogadishu has extremely secure elections, Army.
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe that it was real, so we looked it up. And yeah, it turns out you need you need a passport with a photo ID in order to vote in Mogadishu. Here it is.
Oh, and not only that, they get the election results the same day of the election. That's
Somalia.
crazy concept.
In Somalia, yeah.
You know, we don't have that here in America. I recently, on behalf of the Civil Rights Division, partnered with the Solicitor General's office down the hallway here to file an amicus brief in the Watson case in the Supreme Court, which is seeking to enshrine the crazy concept that you should stop counting the votes on election day and not keep having them trickle in by mail for a week or even longer after that. We need to have finality and certainty in our elections. And if you're too disorganized to get your vote in on time, I'm not sure that your vote should count. And that's, in any event, we have election day in this country, not election month. So we need to stop that too.
Speaking very quickly of Mogadishu and Somalia, you must have had like you've often like talked about immigrants and what it takes to actually like be a functional member of our civilization and Western civilization. You're so versed on that. You love the Constitution. It's been like the core of your entire legal career. What was your reaction to watching Ilhan Omar sort of smart off, scream, interrupt the president? We counted 3 or 4 times that she like yelled down the president at the State of the Union.
Look, for an immigrant, I'm an immigrant, and I remember back to how proud my family was when my mom, my brother, and I all took our oath. I was a child. I was, I think 12 years old. My brother was even younger. He didn't even have one of his teeth, I think, in his front, and we were flying our little flags. It was a proud day for my family. And it really makes my blood boil to see any immigrant who's been given this most precious privilege in the world, American citizenship, spit on it, show her contempt for it. Show her contempt for it in the people's legislature there. It's, first of all, embarrassing for the people who elected her, that they have no sense. But to see her contempt, and right next to her, Rashida Tlaib, another person with an immigrant background. look, Ilhan Omar has some legal issues regarding her citizenship. I'll just leave it at that. I think that they've been well covered in the press, but it's shameful. And I am so happy to be an American, and people need to get out there and touch some grass in other countries and see what they go through to really appreciate how great we have it in this country. But freedom isn't free, and every generation needs to fight for it. And if we're complacent about it, we will lose it. And history has shown us that that civilizations that get fat and happy usually lose it. And we're so fat and happy that we're handing out billions of dollars to scamsters in these blue states and not caring about it at the same time that California has the lowest reading standards in the United States and has broken roads and has an open border and has, there's sewage issues and you name it. It's insane. And so we cannot take this beautiful country for granted. I will not, as long as I draw breath, always be very proud to be an American and fight for what America means and why my parents brought me here to this country.
Yeah, that was an interesting answer. Could you elucidate at all for us on these citizenship issues for Ilhan Omar? Will we ever see anything on that? I will tell you that I was very
anything, but
sure.
I think it's been well covered, and I covered it certainly myself before I joined the DOJ. That certainly it's a truism of immigration law that if you commit fraud in the course of obtaining your citizenship, if you lie about being that you weren't a Nazi guard at a concentration camp, you can be denaturalized. If you lie about your marriage status on which your citizenship depends, or your familial status, or what have you, if you fake any of those documents or you lie, that's a grounds for denaturalization. And so I think it's been credibly alleged that there are serious questions about the circumstances of the paperwork around that naturalization. I'll just leave it at that. I'm not working on that issue. That's not part of what the Civil Rights Division does. But I think we need to police that seriously. It is a precious privilege to be granted citizenship as a naturalized citizen in this country. And I don't think it should be taken away lightly, but if it's just a basic concept of law that if you commit fraud in the course of obtaining a benefit, you're not entitled to it.
Yes. Something that the chat did want me to ask you about, and I maybe it's civil rights, given the fact that your civil rights are deprived of you when you die, is Dr. Fauci. I know that he's been referred to the DOJ by Rand Paul for criminal prosecution for lying under oath. Something that maybe the Clintons are doing. Hillary Clinton just started her deposition right now in front of Congress. And so I just maybe an update. I don't know if there is one on Dr. Fauci, the DOJ. It's criminal.
Look, it's not the section that I handle. And so I really don't have anything to share with your viewers on that issue. I do handle criminal matters here at the Civil Rights Division. They include the FACE Act. The city's church case in Minnesota is a notorious example of that. Hate crimes cases, those kinds of cases, attacks on houses of worship. These are all criminal statutes, the Klan Act, conspiracy to violate rights. These are all areas that we handle in the Civil Rights Division. So I would leave that to my colleagues in the criminal section.
Okay. Again, Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton up on Capitol Hill. I never thought I'd see the day. I couldn't believe it. James Comer, we were just at the Capitol and James Comer was like, me neither. I can't believe it's actually happening, but it is. I'm getting photos right now of it going down. This is quite unprecedented. What's going to happen here?
Rebound and recover with the Planet Fitness Black Cord.
Join and get your first month free. Deal ends March 13th.
Do you support Israel and the Jewish people? Now, more than ever, Israel needs committed.
Look, people who were, BFFs with shady people need to be held accountable for that. I'll just leave it at that. I think you've covered it earlier before I came on. Some of the nasty characters involved in this sordid saga were close friends of the Clintons and invited to their daughter's wedding. And, they should answer for that. I'm sure they are very skilled politicians, both of them, Bill more so than Hillary. And I'm sure they're going to tap dance their way around this stuff and try to drag other people down with it. So I'll just leave it at that. I think a lot of ink has been spilled on this issue, and we have a country to save. I'm really focused on looking forward, dismantling DEI, restoring people's gun rights, making people have confidence in our elections again, or enabling that. making sure that American citizens are not discriminated against in employment. We just reached a settlement this week in one of those kinds of cases, and nobody's ever done that kind of work here, in our department. And the volume and with the zeal that the team I have here does, and I don't want to take credit for it myself. I have dozens and dozens of lawyers who every day get up and open up their computers, excited about making America fair again for all Americans, and so we're really proud of that.
I know you have to hop. I just wanted to throw just one major accomplishment, something that's near and dear to our audience on the field here. Is a post from you on X, and you're looking into people who are hiring only H-1B applicants, and we see this all around the country. This is, of course, a massive, massive scam that I think makes Somali daycares look like chump change, and you see it for everything from people working at kiosks, at a bank teller, to 7-Elevens. Like, do we really need to hire like convenience store clerks on H-1B visas? And you say, hey, this is not legal. We're going to look into this. H-1B candidates only. But you see this all over the place in every sector of society. What's going on here, Harvey?
Well, what's going on here is, let me just be very blunt about it. It is a bipartisan problem, which is American employers, not just in the tech field, but I certainly saw it in the tech field in my many years practicing law in Silicon Valley. They want to pay workers as little as possible because they have, they want to make more profit. That's what it is. You can exploit foreign workers. They are grateful to be here. They will work under illegal working conditions. They will not make a fuss when you mistreat them. They will happily bunk 10 to an apartment in a, Sunnyvale squalid squat so that they can take the jobs of Americans. And I don't blame them. They're trying to get a better life for themselves. I blame the employers who are violating American law and frankly exploiting people. That's a form of human trafficking. And on top of that, giving the finger to the American worker. Shame on them. And as an American citizen, I have employed, dozens and dozens of people at my law firm and a nonprofit that I founded. It would never occur to me to post a discriminatory job ad. It's un-American to do that, and yet many American employers do it. We just had a settlement in a case where the employer said, "Oh, my bad, it was a recruiter in Virginia, I think," and they said, "Oh, sorry, AI drafted the job posting." My goodness, that's even worse, because those are the biases built into these models that you want to get the cheap foreign labor. You want to give these call center jobs to foreigners. Look, Congress needs to smarten up, but guess what? Donors to members in both parties are those very corporations that benefit from exploiting the foreign workforce. So we're very serious about it here at the DOJ. I do rely on the public. I mean, you say it's all over the place. Those kinds of ads where it says H-1B workers only, they're actually not that common. They use much sleazier tactics. And I don't want to tip my hand, but in the coming weeks, you're going to see some prosecutions and cases by the DOJ, which will reveal some of the skanky, shady ways that these companies make it more difficult for American citizens to apply for jobs. And then they sometimes post these postings on job sites that are frequented mainly by foreign workers, literally in other countries and otherwise. They advertise for jobs that can be remote only. And then they kind of advertise them in foreign countries, and who's going to raise their hand for that? Who wouldn't? I don't blame some person in the Philippines or in India who wants to have a job and figure out a way to make more money than they would back home. I do blame the American employer. And yes, we have discrimination against national origin statutes in this country. Historically, the DOJ has been prosecuting those vis-a-vis, oh, I'm not going to hire that person because they have an accent or they're, Latino or what have you. But American citizen is a national origin, and we are equally entitled to the protection of those laws as our foreign workers. And that is how we're treating it in this Civil Rights Division of this Department of Justice under Attorney General Bondi.
Incredible.
Okay, we got 2 biddies, and next few is I got a 5-minute fraud video, and the next 2 is that guy on TikTok, a 4-minute one and a 9-minute one. So let's see what.
you all for joining us today as we announce the largest coordinated healthcare fraud takedown in the history of the Department of Justice. Today marks a decisive moment in our fight to protect American taxpayers from fraudsters and to defend the integrity of America's healthcare system. We are announcing today charges against 324 defendants for their alleged participation in healthcare fraud schemes involving approximately $14.6 billion in false claims submitted to Medicare, Medicaid, and other healthcare programs. In a takedown this large, I can't possibly describe all of the work that went into dismantling each scheme, but there are 4 key points that bear emphasizing. First, let me be clear about what these healthcare fraud schemes mean for every hardworking American family. These criminals didn't just steal someone else's money. They stole from you. Every fraudulent claim, every fake billing, every kickback scheme represents money taken directly from the pockets of American taxpayers who fund these essential programs through their hard work and sacrifice. And when criminals defraud these programs, they're not just committing theft. They're driving up our national deficit and threatening the long-term viability of healthcare for seniors, disabled Americans, and our most vulnerable citizens. This enforcement action involves the seizure of cash, as well as luxury vehicles and properties, returning real money to American taxpayers and to our government healthcare programs. Second, we are seeing a disturbing trend of transnational criminal organizations engaging in increasingly sophisticated and complex criminal schemes that defraud the American healthcare system. As part of this takedown, we've identified and charged defendants operating from Russia, Eastern Europe, Pakistan, and other foreign countries. These individuals have infiltrated our healthcare system to steal American taxpayer dollars. As just one example, we dismantled a scheme involving a sophisticated operation run from Russia and Eastern Europe that strategically bought dozens of medical supply companies in the United States and submitted more than $10 billion in fraudulent healthcare claims to Medicare. To make matters worse, these perpetrators used the stolen identities of more than 1 million Americans spanning all 50 states to perpetrate this scheme and submit these false claims. But I'm pleased to report that federal agents intercepted and arrested key members of that organization at U.S. airports and the U.S.-Mexico border, cutting off their intended escape routes. The days of transnational criminal organizations using the American healthcare programs as their personal piggy bank are over. Third, this takedown resulted in criminal charges against 74 defendants, including medical professionals who fueled America's deadly opioid crisis for personal profit. These are not isolated instances of poor judgment. These are calculated schemes designed to exploit Americans struggling with addiction while enriching the very people who were duty-bound to help them heal. We charged pill mill operators who prescribed unnecessary opioids. We dismantled networks of corrupt pharmacies that existed solely to distribute drugs to addicts and dealers, feeding the addiction crisis that has devastated so many American communities. This is not healthcare. It is a staggering breach of trust. And under my leadership, the criminal division will prosecute these criminals as aggressively as we would any drug dealer, because that's exactly what they are. Fourth, many of the defendants charged as part of this takedown specifically targeted our most vulnerable citizens, elderly Americans in nursing homes, individuals with disabilities, those battling serious illnesses, and more. For example, our prosecutors charged 7 defendants, including 5 medical professionals, in connection with approximately $1 billion in fraudulent claims to Medicare and other healthcare benefit programs for performing medically unnecessary skin grafts on dying patients as they were seeking to spend their final days with dignity and peace. That conduct is exactly as callous and disturbing as it sounds. Patients and their families trusted these providers with their lives. Instead of receiving care, they became victims of elaborate criminal schemes.
I wish it was louder. I hope everybody got to hear that. That was a big video there. Yeah, we got two of him.
6th, the year of our Lord, 2026. I want to give this kind of a viewpoint, if I may say, about the Operation Epic Fury. I don't mean to laugh, but I know how the people in Iran and in the Middle East, a good large portion of the population think, and I wouldn't, what's large? What's the term large? Let me put it to you this way. I worked in the oil field for a number of years. My grandfather was a wildcatter back 100 years ago, and I got oil in my blood, I guess. I worked on drilling rigs. I drilled for oil, the whole bit. Having said that, I know I was never in the Middle East, but I talked to many men who went over there during, well, first off, we showed the people over there in the Middle East how to drill for oil, to get the oil out of the ground, okay? Second of all, during the wars and various other things back in the 80s and stuff like that, and in the 90s, I know many men who went over there and worked drilling for oil. They actually came back. And here's the point that I want to make, is that we would show them, okay, it turns to the right. They were running the pipe in the ground, and they would use the locals to do what's called the labor. Roughnecks and derrickmen basically were not used over in Saudi Arabia. The derrickmen, the I guess you might say the next in line for drillers, and the drillers would go over there and they would basically run the rigs, but they would use the locals for the labor on the floor, putting the pipe connection, etc. Here's a point that I want to make. By the end of the day, you would get them up there, and they'd have to pray 5 times a day. Okay, but by the end of the day, you could get them. Okay, it turns to the right. Okay, turns to the right. By the end of the day, they've got it. When they come back the next day, they've lost it. You'd have to retrain them all over again. A good portion of these people are uneducated, antiquated, what you might call Bedouin tribesmen. They live not in the modern world. They're committed to their old world rule or way of life, their culture, and they're just, and a lot of them are on heroin. Afghanistan, the country of Afghanistan, you know what their major cash crop is? Heroin. All that region, they smoke hash, they smoke heroin. It's a mess. But more importantly, I want to show you something. These people over there, and especially the ones in Iran, do not think like we do. They think they're the masters of the world. It's unbelievable. But it's even worse than that. And I'm going to show you something. I'm going to show you what they call an aircraft carrier. Now, they only had one. Iran only had one, but it was a rebuilt or retrofitted civilian container ship, okay? And they made a little aircraft carrier out of it for not launching F-15s and like this, drones. They launched drones. And I'm going to show you this. Stay with me, okay? All right. This is the Iranian supposed battleship that they had in the Gulf, okay? And it's called the Iris Shahid Bajir. Now, this is, as it goes along there, it's doesn't have many drones on it because they're out all flying around. But watch this. Oops, damn. Whoa, hello. That didn't end well. That didn't end well. All righty. That was the one Iranian, I guess what you might say, aircraft carrier that they had to launch drones. And it now sits at the bottom of the Gulf. Imagine, and this is what I want folks to understand. Imagine Billy Bob, whatever, taking a truck here in Arkansas. Who knows? Just a stone cold idiot down in Kenya, wherever, from Egypt, whatever. It doesn't matter. Okay, and he buys a truck for $150, and he retrofits it to haul trash or something like that. And he collects stuff, and he can haul trash and make it $8 a day. That's pretty much what you just witnessed. Now, these drones are dangerous. They can carry weapons and explosives, etc. But the Iranians didn't build a carrier or an aircraft carrier or, spend, what, $1 billion or $500 million building a launch carrier or whatever that they could launch drones from. They retrofitted a container ship. And the United States just sunk it. This is epic fury is going to be decisive and complete. It'll take a few weeks, but like I said before in my other post, this will be decisive and complete. There will be literally nothing left of their infrastructure to bring a fight to us. Right now, they've literally got their infrastructure to launch ballistic missiles or missiles of any kind, like you just saw this large ship just sunk. Boom. That one picture you just saw is literally nothing compared to what is happening and is going to happen and begin late tonight. They're going to the United States is going to drop so much armament on that region, not so much the Houthis, but Hezbollah, the Hamas, and Iran, and its infrastructure, its ability to launch weapons and drones and stuff like that. There's going to be such a, unless you've really seen this, unless you've been over there and get the smells, and I've never have, but I try to imagine, I've talked to guys, the smell of kerosene, the smell of TNT just permeates the region. It's going to be literally a dust bowl. And what's going to happen, they're going to try to save as many buildings as they possibly can in the capital of Tehran. But more importantly, what the NCRI, the National Council of the Resistance of Iran, has got a 10-point strategy to return the sovereignty of Iran to the people, get it back to normal. You probably just saw the gentleman on TikTok talking about he was Donald Trump's pick to begin the transfer of sovereignty. He would be the leader. He is the United States and Donald Trump's pick. The devastation that's going to go on in the next several days is going to literally obliterate Iran's ability to bring any force devastation to us. It's literally going to be obliterated. They will literally be knocked out. I mean, knocked out. They'll never be able to recover with nuclear weapons, with drones, with little missiles, with firepower of any kind. Watch as this plays out. And the balance of power on this planet is going to shift to the Americas, to the United States of America. Literally, we will have control of the distribution of oil on the planet. Watch what happens. The balance of power is shifting in our favor, and it's going to be permanent.
Okay, I got another one's 5 minutes, but I got a photo I want to share. So who was that with Hillary? Is that Epstein there? I got one more short clip too. I want to share. Oh, where is it? Well, I'll find it after I get this one done.
It's March 7th, the year of our Lord 2026. Just moments ago, President Trump was talking about the Shields of America, or the Shield of Americas. This is a newly formed agency that is to protect and shield America from the Mexican and Venezuelan and narco terrorists across the planet. More importantly, right now, Marco Rubio is talking and about how Cuba has kind of been a part of this. But more importantly, Cuba is not so much part of the cartels, but it is a strategic point in the link. Okay, a lot of drugs have been coming through there, and we've had trouble with the Marx, I guess, which you might the socialist nation, and with Fidel Castro, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, for what, 40, 50 years? Now the Fidel Castro's gone. It's still problematic, but more importantly, now since he replaced Kristi Noem with Mark Mullen at the Department of Homeland Security, as I posted just a couple of 36 hours ago or thereabouts, that Kristi Noem was going to be the special envoy to the Shield of Americas. This is designed specifically. Kristi is going to be the special envoy to take on and target specifically the narco terrorists bringing drugs into this country. Back in 2009, I was appointed by the chairman of the Board of Supervisors here in the county where I live to the Alcohol and Drug Advisory Board. We tackled basically what was happening back in 2009, the opioid epidemic, as far as what the pills, not carfentanil, but the pills that they have that people were buying from doctors. Okay, then later on, we see carfentanil coming from China and being in the illicit drug and literally killing people. And we addressed this, how the overdoses were. I mean, I worked on that. I volunteered on that advisory board for 4 years, and I actually chaired the education committee. We learned a great deal about how the unbelievable amount of people that were addicted in this country because of the flow of drugs, and the unbelievable amount of people that were dying from overdoses directly related to cocaine and heroin. Now, the amount of people in the last I guess what you might say, I would say 7 or 8 years, fentanyl that has been flooding this country from the Marco terrorists is killing people. I mean, at a rate, the numbers, I believe 2 years ago, it was 110,000 people died from overdoses in this country because of the fentanyl that they were coming in contact with. More importantly, I want folks to understand, here's the best way I can tell you. In the 60s and 70s, we didn't have massive overdoses of cocaine and heroin, right? Now we do. Why? Because the narco terrorists were bringing in massive amounts of cocaine and heroin, and especially now with the massive amounts of heroin and cocaine being brought in with fentanyl in it. It doesn't take but 3 or 4 grains to kill a person. 3 or 4 grains of fentanyl will kill you. This is what Special Envoy and Kristi Noem and the Shield of Americas is designed to do. It's going to go right after and target the narco terrorists bringing drugs into this country. And guess what? We're going to save that Shield of America is going to save, literally thousands of lives and get the drugs out of this country and keep them from coming into this country. This is a good day. Morning.
Okay, we're caught up with him. Yeah, I got a short clip here. See what you guys think of this clip.
And I can finally breathe. No walls, no masks. Just you.
Anybody see this clip yet? Yep, yep. I think this is a new one out. Never seen this one. I think I got it off on time, didn't I, Kay? Okay, Diana, Princess Diana. We're going to do a 4-minute clip with Fetterman, Lucy.
Eliminating the state income tax.
My next guest was amazingly the only Democrat in the Senate to break with his party and vote against limiting Trump's war powers. This was incredible. And then later in the week, 53 House Democrats voted against labeling Iran as a state sponsor of terror. Pennsylvania Democratic Senator John Fetterman joins me now. Senator Fetterman, I know you're not in the House, but I have to believe you have some thoughts on the 53 names we will scroll who did not have the audacity to vote to label Iran a state sponsor of terror.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the same list, that was it's the same part of the same list that refused to condemn Hamas after 10/7. So I mean, that's part of our party, and that 53, that's almost 25% of Democrats in the House that can't just call Iran as the world's biggest terrorism underwriter. That's where our party's been heading now. And now anti-Israel, that's part of the ongoing conversation. I can't imagine why you wouldn't just identify that what Iran is. And we all agree that.
Yeah. Well, we unearthed some sound from the former Democratic nominee for president of your party. Kamala Harris is sounding very different today versus just a short time ago. Let's watch this.
Which foreign country do you consider to be our greatest adversary?
Well, there are different reasons that we should be thoughtful about each. Most recently, I think there's an obvious one in mind, which is Iran. And look, I mean, Iran has American blood on their hands.
Donald Trump has dragged us into a war the American people do not want. He has put American troops in harm's way. I unequivocally oppose this war of choice, and everyone should.
I mean, what happened?
Well, I mean, I think it's what happened now. But first, I really have to say that now, if someone identifies America's top risk and or threat, and someone dispatches that in about 3 or 4 days and makes it impossible them to acquire nuclear weapons and their missile program, why isn't that a good thing? I don't know why that's not a great thing. And Hillary Clinton said the same thing back in 2015 when she was running in president. You know, virtually every Democrat that I'm aware of says we can never allow Iran to acquire nuclear bombs, and they were a significant risk to America. So I know why they don't say that now, because I'm aware that it is very damaging as a Democrat to just happen to agree with the president on anything. But for me, that's easy, a country over party what demands. Now, I don't know why we can't just be honest saying that, you know, the last two professional candidates for the Democratic Party all agree that we can never allow Iran to acquire nuclear bombs, and that's made that possible now. I think we can say, hey, that's a great thing. That makes the world more safe, more secure, and holds Iran accountable.
Yeah, no doubt. Senator, I want to pull this up. So at 1:41 p.m., President Trump put out a tweet last week saying Kristi Noem was out and Markwayne Mullin is in for DHS Secretary. The reason I note the timestamp is 1:58 p.m., really quickly thereafter, you announced that you will be voting in favor to confirm Markwayne Mullin, someone who hails from the other party. How were you able to so quickly come to that determination?
Yeah, well, for me, it's like I've known him for a while. And actually, I first really got an opportunity to really get him to know. I was the only Democrat that joined him on that mission to Turks and Caicos to help save those Americans being locked up in prison because they had a couple random bullets in there as accidentally. So, I mean, he's a good dude. And I know it's a significant upgrade, and I absolutely going to vote for him.
Yeah, well, that's a good rationale. And you've, like you said, served with him. I want to end by asking you this. These are some entities within DHS that are at risk during this shutdown. CISA, we know that Iran wants to attack our grid. They want to engage in cyber attacks. CISA protects us against that. Coast Guard, Secret Service, TSA. I mean, I know that you've spoken to the pain of the federal workers, which is huge. But do you feel that you're concerned for national security with this shutdown now?
Well, of course it is. And that's why I'm the only Democrat that refused to vote to shutting down the DHS. Now, if we would want to make some reforms at ICE, but we all know that would have no impact on ICE, you know, at this point. And now that's part of isolating. And now I know what the base demands to just vote to shut it down, but I refuse to do that because that's the wrong thing. I ask a lot of Americans, hey, do you like getting paid for the work that you do? I haven't met anyone that says, nah, that's okay, you don't have to pay me. But that's what we are requiring now, those folks in the DHS, not to get paid for the work that they do to help protect America and keep us safe. That's another fail of not choosing our country over the party.
Yes. Well, Senator Fetterman, go check out the 5 from yesterday. We had a great conversation about how much we love your style and your hoodie. So thank you, Senator Fetterman, for joining us as always.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, everyone.
Okay. Senator out of Pennsylvania. I got a minute one also from Pennsylvania. I just found.
voter fraud. Prosecutors say that she also stole more than $400,000 in federal benefits. White House correspondent Aisha Hasni reports live from the North Lawn. Hi, Aisha.
Hey there, Martha. We're talking about a 59-year-old illegal immigrant who's been in the country for years, stole someone else's identity, and then voted in the 2024 presidential election. Take a look at this photo here. This is Lina Maria Arovio Hernandez. In this picture, you can see her, Martha, wearing that I voted sticker that we all get when we go to cast our ballots. She's also convicted of stealing $400,000, as you mentioned, in benefits. She apparently used her fake identity to obtain multiple state IDs and also a passport. So the president this morning, or excuse me, on Sunday, posted this on Truth Social. America's elections are rigged, stolen, and a laughingstock all over the world. He is calling for voter ID, proof of citizenship, and bans on mail-in ballots as he supports the SAVE Act on Capitol Hill. That's a Republican-led voter ID bill that is expected to hit the floor of the House this week. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries is claiming the bill is just an attempt by Republicans to rig the midterm elections.
The question is that what Republicans are trying to do is to engage in clear and blatant voter suppression. They know that if there's a free and fair election in November, they're going to lose.
That's what I said 5 years ago. That's something. Dang it. Why is that doing that? Hang on a second.
Today at Purdue. On Friday, Donald Trump demanded unconditional surrender from Iran. His enemies have seized on that statement to sow panic, predicting a new economic blowout, which will deliver the midterm elections for the Democrats. Here's Carolyn Levitt explaining war to the jackals in the media.
President Trump means when he says unconditional surrender is when he, as commander-in-chief of the United States military and the leader of the free world, determines that Iran can no longer pose a threat to the United States of America and to our troops and our personnel in the Middle East. We're already well on our way to achieving the objectives of Operation Epic Fury. And when the president determines that Iran no longer poses that threat, that's when that unconditional surrender will take place.
Now, the City of London's financial press are showing financial panic, claiming that we're headed for a 1979-style oil shock, once again caused by events in Iran, if the war isn't stopped immediately. Bloomberg News on Friday said that $100 oil is just about here. The Wall Street Journal this morning carries the headline, America braces for oil shock as Iran war throttles supply. And the Financial Times leads by asking, is the nightmare scenario for energy finally here? The lead anti-Trump economist Paul Krugman gleefully predicts the same gas lines, rationing, and stagflation that America experienced from the Iran oil shock in 1979. They're all wrong, and their evil intentions are very clear. That oil shock was not the product of market forces, and neither is the panic they're trying to create today. I'm Barbara Boyd, and I'm going to prove it to you because I've studied the imperial great game for decades, including the 1979 Iranian Revolution and the oil shock it caused. What the globalists want is simple: an economic crisis they can pin on Trump to deliver the House and Senate in the midterm elections. And once again, the mullahs are their instrument, just like 1979. Here's what I'm going to cover today. First, what the 1979 oil shock actually was, who built it, and why. Second, how the same playbook is being run today against Trump's American economic renaissance. And third, why unconditional surrender of the Khomeini regime is not the cause of economic chaos. It is the cure. Let's get into it. But first, hit the like button and share this video. It increases our reach on YouTube. To understand why they destroyed Iran in 1979, you have to understand what Iran was becoming and how it defied the globalist plans. By the mid-1970s, the Shah of Iran was using oil wealth to build a modern industrial nation, and he was moving very fast. Over 30 nuclear power plants were under construction or in planning with France and West Germany. So too, a massive steel industry. His explicit goal was to make Iran one of the world's top industrial powers, independent, sovereign, no longer dependent on raw material exports. And it wasn't just Iran. France and Germany were laying the groundwork for a new international monetary system that would reform the IMF and finance industrial development across the entire developing world. For British Petroleum and the Anglo-American financial establishment that had controlled Iran's oil since the 1950s, this was an existential threat. The Council on Foreign Relations had already mapped out the future world economy in their Project 1980s project commencing in 1975. They called for a complete halt to exactly this type of industrial development, starting right here in the United States. It became the Carter administration's policies. Just listen to their own words.
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it, just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44.
A degree of controlled disintegration in the world economy is a legitimate objective for the 1980s and may be the most realistic one for a moderate international economic order. Controlled disintegration. That was the policy, and they had the perfect weapon to deliver a major blow. They overthrew the Shah by weaponizing his fatal flaw, the Savak, his brutal secret police, trained by MI6, the CIA, and the Israelis. The Savak made Iran an easy target for a worldwide human rights campaign, and the Muslim Brotherhood, a tool of British intelligence going back to the 1920s, was deployed to run the color revolution that brought the Shah down. When Khomeini took power, he canceled every modernization project, the nuclear plants, the steel mills, all of it, denouncing them as, quote, Western and, quote, anti-Islamic. The resulting oil shock caused by the supply disruptions from Iran and panic chatter in the financial press shattered the economies of France, Germany, and the United States. And it worked exactly as they planned it. The City of London's banks profited from the speculative oil spot market and the control of insurance and settlements on all energy and raw materials throughout the world. The City of London engineered the crisis and they cashed in on it. That is the history they don't teach. It's what we do at Promethean Action every single week. You can get ahead of events by subscribing to our free newsletter. And if you're already subscribed, you might have already thought about the fact that this is the same enemy playbook being run now. It's just a different decade. So now you know what happened in 1979. The question is, why are we talking about it today? Well, it's because the same people, the same institutions, the same imperial establishment that engineered the controlled disintegration of 1979 are running the identical playbook against Donald Trump's economic revolution right now in the United States. Their calculation is straightforward. Iran's counterattacks on Gulf oil infrastructure create a new oil shock. The economic crisis delivers democratic victories in the midterms. And Trump's economic renaissance, well, it dies in the cradle. When Trump came back into office, he came in with an explicit program: tariffs to rebuild manufacturing, energy dominance to drive down costs, deregulation to unleash industrial investment, and a sovereign wealth fund to finance national development. He revived Hamilton's American system, the very system that the CFR's Project 1980s attacked by name. The parallels to what the Shah was attempting are not coincidental, but there is a very critical difference. Trump's program puts the prosperity and security of the American worker at the absolute center of everything. Not Wall Street, not the globalists, the worker. His national security strategy says it plainly. American policy will be pro-worker, not merely pro-growth, and it will prioritize our own workers here. And Trump is the first president since Roosevelt who is unafraid to exercise the power of our unique American heritage. He knows exactly whose shoulders he's standing on. Here he is, right after the war started, pausing at the statues of Washington, Franklin, and Jefferson he has recently installed outside the White House. While the globalist press screamed about oil shocks and stagflation, the President of the United States was standing with the men who built the most powerful economy in history out of a post-Revolutionary War bankruptcy. That is not a coincidence. Our oil and natural gas supplies are at a peak based on Trump's policies, and we have taken steps to use our own programs to ensure ships going through the Straits of Hormuz, and we've offered naval escorts. There is absolutely no real reason for an oil shock precisely because of Trump's policies. Trump also came in with an explicit security doctrine and open borders and the drug trade, exit the permanent wars, and prioritize our own hemisphere. The Middle East was not explicitly a major security target. That's the first time that's been that way in years. But the red lines were clear for the Middle East. Gulf energy must not fall to an outright enemy. The Strait of Hormuz must remain open. The region must not export terror against America, and Israel must remain secure. Iran with a nuclear weapon hits every one of those red lines simultaneously. Not one voice in the anti-war chorus will tell you the regime Trump is destroying was a British intelligence installation. Not one will tell you the 1979 oil shock was deliberate economic warfare. Not one will mention the controlled disintegration of the economy because they were for it then and they are for it now. The difference between 1979 and 2026 is one man, and they know it.
Planning to publish your book? You could reach 3 billion more readers. If you've written a book and you're thinking...
So let's bring this home. The CFR, the economists, the Wall Street economists, the anti-war crowd, they all agree. Trump must stop, negotiate, accept a ceasefire, because if he doesn't, economic catastrophe follows. They have it exactly backwards. The Khomeini regime was installed in 1979 as a permanent weapon against the American and world economy. It was designed to do exactly what it's doing right now: threaten the Strait of Hormuz, attack Gulf energy infrastructure, weaponize oil against the West. That is not a side effect of the mullahs' ideology. That is their primary function. And that's what they were built to do. The cure is not a ceasefire. The cure is unconditional surrender. Think about what the day after looks like. Iran sits on the third largest proven oil reserves on Earth. Under the mullahs, those reserves have been deliberately withheld and weaponized. A post-Khomeini Iran, under a government aligned with its own people's interests, doesn't just stop being a threat, it becomes one of the world's great energy producers. Its intellectuals and professionals who fled the mullahs' prosecutions returned to help build their nation. A Middle East that is developing and prospering does not produce terrorism. It does not weaponize oil. It does not serve as the British Empire's permanent destabilization instrument. That is Trump's actual strategic vision. And when you understand it, the entire manufactured globalist financial panic makes perfect sense. They're not worried about the American economy. They're worried about their own survival. In 2026, the man in the White House is finishing what the CFR started in 1979, but in reverse. He is not disintegrating. He is rebuilding. And a major step in that rebuilding is removing the weapon they installed 47 years ago. Unconditional surrender is not the cause of economic chaos. It is the cure. This has been your Saturday Brief. Please consider becoming a paying subscriber to our newsletter and continuing to help us expand this project. Thanks very much for listening.
Please take a moment.
Okay, that one channel there, they're on Telegram, YouTube, and TikTok. I got a couple short ones here. Anybody see this yet?
What nobody else could do for half a century. How do you like that? And you know why he did it? Because he loves his country. You know why he did it? Because he's humane. He saw people slaughtered and he wanted to put an end to it. That's why he did it. Now it's time that we Americans have to come to grips with something. We have a party in this country, the Democrat Party, that hates the country. Here we are in the middle of a spectacular, humane peace mission where people were being slaughtered. They were being slaughtered right up to the minute we attacked them. We've been talking about it. They've slaughtered our soldiers. They've slaughtered our citizens, our embassy personnel. They come into our country and try and assassinate people. They're the biggest promoters of terrorism, and the Democrats immediately, knee-jerk, they defend the terrorists, like they defend the illegal aliens and the criminals. There's something wrong with that party, that at a time we should be celebrating the most spectacular military act I've ever seen, Khomeini's gone in 20 hours, while their president, Biden, was funding the Iranians billions of dollars, while Obama was paving the way for them to have nuclear weapons. Donald Trump loves this country. He knows right from wrong. And we've had a real psyop going on in this country for 10 years against this man, where they try and pretend he's the authoritarian, he's the dictator. No, they are. They talk about the War Powers Act of 1973. Anybody who is a serious constitutional lawyer knows that act is unconstitutional. I see all these lawyers writing these pieces like they're smart. They're dumb. And every administration,
right?
Republican and Democrat, has questioned it. But they haven't brought it to the Supreme Court because neither the Congress or the president wants a resolution. When you have Schumer, who's basically sliding and walking and weaving, all of a sudden he's excited because it can cripple our armed forces in the middle of a war that they're winning. That's what Schumer's doing. Schumer, who supported the Obama nuclear plan, and they would have nuclear weapons today. That's Schumer. Then I see these other people say, Trump hasn't made the case. Trump hasn't made the case. He made the case in 8 minutes. Overwhelming. But why do we need anybody to make the case? Do you have eyes? Do you have ears? Are you an American citizen? Do you know what this regime's been doing? Do you know what it's done to our soldiers? Do you know what it's done to our citizens? Do you know we have people without limbs, without faces, without eyes? As a result of that regime, what do you mean we haven't made the case? Are you really that stupid? And I think they are. But that party hates this country. I love when they wave around the Constitution. They hate the Constitution. They use it to attack it. They believe that illegal aliens are citizens. They believe that terrorists should be given the benefit of the doubt. Listen, if they had their way, Donald Trump would have sent Marco Rubio and Pete Hegseth and others to go to Congress and say, here's what we're going to do. We're going to attack them at 3 a.m. We're going to use these kinds of forces. We're going to work with the Israelis. This is what we're going to do. Now tell the other 530 members of Congress what we're going to do. Wow, nobody would leak that. Would they, Bernie Sanders and AOC and Tlaib? Of course not. Let me tell you what the founders of this country believe. Draft for the Constitution to declaring war. They specifically took that out because they don't want the Chuck Schumers of the world making decisions. The only person in Washington, D.C., who's elected by all the people, other than the vice president, is the president of the United States. Chuck Schumer's elected from New York. Bernie Sanders is elected from Vermont. They wanted the commander-in-chief to be elected by the entirety of the nation. And they're even talking about impeaching him if they take the House of Representatives. Ladies and gentlemen, we have an enemy within, and it is the Democrat Party. Every reprobate, miscreant, and malcontent is in that party. The Marxists and the Islamists are in that party. Do they act like they love the nation? Do they? When we have men and women in uniform, Democrats and Republicans and independents, fighting an enemy, fighting terrorists, the greatest terror regime in the world history, and we're winning. And that's why they're going nuts. We're winning. This is so spectacular what's taking place. And I want our troops to know something. These people who are trying to undermine you, they are a small percentage of the population. We red-blooded Americans, we love victory. And we love you. You are of us. And most of us have had relatives, if not ourselves, in the military. Chuck Schumer means nothing to us. Hakeem Jeffries means nothing to us. You, Mr. and Mrs. America, we support our military. We support our commander-in-chief. We support victory. This is a spectacular military operation with our spectacular ally, the Israelis, with their spectacular prime minister. It's working. It's effective. It's spectacular. And these guys, we have to hurry back to Congress. We need to have a vote on the War Powers Act of 1973. This would be the same party that dragged us into Vietnam, right? Was that a declared war? No, it wasn't a declared war. And I could go on and on and on about the hypocrites in that party. It's their president that was about to hand nuclear weapons to this enemy. It's their president who handed them billions of dollars in cash and so forth. This president isn't going to put up with it, and he hasn't. God bless our president. God bless the prime minister of Israel. And one last thing, as quickly as I can. All those poor people who died on October 7th, all those hostages who were taken and raped and tortured and murdered and brutalized, this is for you. All of those Americans were walking around without arms or legs, they're in wheelchairs, have died. All of those people who died in our embassies, all those people who've died from their terrorist acts, this is for you. And this is retribution. And you know what? We Americans like retribution, especially when it comes to dealing with terrorists. Khomeini is dead. He's not 6 feet under. He's in hell. He's got a river of blood on his hands. And the Iranian people are going to be free.
Get your thoughts specific.
Okay, another important one there from him. A short clip.
All right, we're outside the U.S. consulate in Toronto. On a Sunday, people are bringing flowers. Iranians are bringing flowers, thanking the United States of America for helping them get rid of the Ayatollah. There you go.
3.5.
My God, more and more people are coming.
Good job, Issa.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I love you. I love you. Thank you, Trump. Thank you, Trump. Thank you, Bibi.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thanks for coming. Appreciate it. Thank you. Red, white, and blue. Right at the U.S. consulate.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone.
All right, I'll get you this.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Police officer, thank you. Police officer, thank you. Police officer, thank you. I'm sorry about that. We make some inconvenience for you on a holiday. In a weekend, you have to work. By the way, thank you so much. You are the best. Thank you. To be honest, flower for the flowers. Thank you.
More flowers. Wow. Javi Shaw.
Javi Shaw.
U.S. Army, thank you. U.S. Army, thank you.
U.S. Army, thank you.
U.S. Army, thank you. U.S. Army, thank you. U.S. Army, thank you.
What do you guys think of this one?
U.S. Army, thank you.
Thank you, President Trump. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Trump.
You want the flowers?
Is it for me or for President Trump?
It's for President Trump. I keep getting flowers. I'm not used to getting flowers.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's what it's gonna get.
Yep. Another country cheering for Trump. We got a Nick video, and I got another 10-minute one. That'll give us 2 more. See, try to get a third one.
Absolute best place to buy Tempur-Pedic. We have more Tempur-Pedic beds in stock than anyone else. Your perfect fit is ready for as low as $17 a month with no interest. Plus, get a $300 free gift and free same-day delivery. Shop Gardner White for the best selection of Tempur-Pedic.
Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. And of course, here's the meme of the day brought to you by 5mind.com. Well, again, you know what I'm relying on the most here is my perception. It's not my first rodeo. We've been through these, wartime, let's call it foreign conflict kind of news cycles before. And they're always the same, people jumping to these massive conclusions. The emotions are high. The opposing political side, of course, trying to weaponize the whole thing and gain some ground. And so what I try to do every single time is kind of remove myself from all the hysteria and just analyze what I am seeing. Focus on perception. Don't get emotional. Try not to be too partisan, although, of course, certain partisan appeals I think are relevant. But for the most part, just observe, and report. And well, based on my observation, I'm still coming to the same conclusion. In fact, more so every single day. We are in totally uncharted territory. We are seeing something which we have never seen before. And that, my friends, I believe is becoming increasingly clear as every update trickles in. And the latest update, I'd say, is probably the most convincing. We're now learning that roughly a week into this thing, it appears as though American and Israeli forces have gained complete air control of Iran's official airspace. Folks, I know there's a lot of talk of this thing's going to be complicated. It's going to spiral out of control. It's going to take forever to deal with. But it's been 6 days, and it seems as if the Iranians don't even have a jet in the air. Again, I think all of this is speaking towards a completely different military doctrine, a completely different strategy, and possibly, or hopefully, as a lot of us are hoping for, possibly a wildly different and better outcome than foreign conflicts we've involved ourselves in the past. Let me show you guys exactly what's going on. Here's a full update. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, folks, so I first want to start off with what the administration is now telling us about this operation. Caroline Leavitt is doing a media tour, and take a look.
President Trump and the United States military are absolutely decimating the rogue Iranian terrorist regime. We are now on day 6 of Operation Epic Fury. The United States military has impressively established dominance and air superiority over the skies of Iran. We have sunk and destroyed more than 30 of their Navy ships. And of course, the goals of this operation have been laid out and very clear. Completely annihilate Iran's Navy, which again, we are well on our way to doing. Their Navy has now been deemed combat ineffective. Secondly, take out their ballistic missile weaponry arsenal capacity, which we are very much doing. In fact, their retaliatory ballistic missile strikes against the United States and our allies in the region have decreased 90% just over the course of the last 6 days. And of course, the overall mission in this operation is to ensure that Iran can never again possess a nuclear weapon. That was the real imminent threat that was posed by Iran to the United States and our personnel in the region. And President Trump and the United States military are focused on tackling this threat every single day.
You know, sure, you might say this is propaganda, but I'm really not so sure that that's the case. Because when you square what Caroline Leavitt said there with what we're seeing on the ground, what we're seeing from all official reports, it certainly seems to line up. I'm seeing videos of Israeli military jets just flying through Iran willy-nilly. That was never possible in the past. But now they're doing so without confrontation, without issue. Then you take into consideration the massive bombardment of basically all their military infrastructure and how we're correlating that to the drop in missile strikes. And by the way, we're not done. Scott Besson just hit us with an update that we're likely to see another round of massive strikes taking place tonight as I'm recording this video. So yesterday, as you're watching it.
A losing military battle where they're being overwhelmed, as Secretary Hegseth, the General Kane, and the president have all said tonight will be our biggest bombing campaign and will do the most damage to the Iranian missile launchers, the factories that build the missiles, and we are substantially degrading them. And our campaign has been overwhelming. So having not been able to succeed there, they're trying to create economic chaos. And I don't think they're going to be able to do it. There are a lot of headline writers, a lot of other networks want to speak to the contrary, but we've considered all this. This is in the president's calculus, and things are proceeding as planned.
I'm kind of repeating myself a lot in these videos, but what else can I say? It feels like total decimation. There might be nothing left. And actually, as I'm saying this, just to show you how fluid this whole thing is and how it never ends, I'm getting reports, which I have not double checked, but I'll probably double check before releasing the video. Apparently, Mojtaba Khamenei, the new Iranian Ayatollah, has already been killed. I'll take that one with a grain of salt, but if it didn't happen already, it's likely to happen, right down the frickin' pike. It's coming. And so you start to ask an obvious question. How the hell are these people supposed to fight back? They don't even control their own airspace. Their naval presence has been totally decimated.
Their army is gone. They're just about, look, their Navy is gone. They're
Meet EM Sense, a breakthrough in foot therapy that wraps around your foot and ankle like a therapeutic boot.
Communications are gone. Their leaders are gone. 2 sets of their leaders are gone. They're down to their 3rd set. Their air force is wiped out entirely. Think of it. They have 32 ships. All 32 are at the bottom of the ocean. Our military is doing phenomenally. That's the big thing for this week. We seem to have a new thing every week.
Their missile infrastructure is being dismantled piece by piece. They bring in a new leader. Oh, we found another Khomeini. And boom, Khomeini down. I mean, pretty soon there's going to be no one left except the family dog. Well, wait a second. Actually, we know Muslim beliefs on dogs now, don't we? So there is no Khomeini family dog, meaning pretty soon there's not going to be a Khomeini left. And this, I believe, is where the strategy becomes quite obvious. This isn't Iraq. It's not Afghanistan. It's not some stupid endless occupation with boots on the ground trying to rebuild another country in our image. Now, the strategy is basically we own your sky. You do something we don't like, well, we just press a button and boom, we hit the reset button. I think we could call it sky enforcement, a permanent reminder hanging over this regime's head that if they step out of line, the hammer drops instantaneously. And it appears there's little, if not nothing, they could do about it. It feels like a different strategy and also not making the same mistakes of the past. Pete Hegseth said something the other day that I think kind of speaks to that point.
One common outcome of American military action in the past has been taking in thousands of refugees into the American homeland, and I'm wondering if there's any safeguards put in place to make sure that the American people aren't having to have another wave of refugees from the Middle East or anywhere else come and stay here.
I think it's safe to say there's no plan for a wave of new Middle Eastern refugees to the United States of America. I think as the president has pointed out for a long time, there are a lot of countries in the region who would be capable of providing that kind of support if need be. But that's certainly not something we're planning on.
In the past, we'd cause a refugee crisis and then import that crisis at home, open the border to all of the supposed refugees. Joe Biden did that in Afghanistan. We saw exactly what that led to. Well, in this case, it's a different perspective. We're going to completely neuter your authoritarian, threatening regime, and then we're not taking a soul. In fact, for the most part, migration from this part of the world has been totally shut down, not to mention the illegal migration as well at the southern border. No, instead, the refugee and immigration policy right now seems to be shifting towards groups like South African Afrikaners. All this to say we're not making the same naive mistakes of the past. And even speaking to regime change and getting involved, getting entangled in the web that is Iranian dysfunction, well, that doesn't seem to be part of the menu either. Trump actually went on the record, and his position seems pretty blunt on the whole thing. He said publicly that, quote, he doesn't even care whether Iran becomes a democratic state or not. And so again, it's not some ideological crusade to rebuild the Middle East as a non-Muslim nation. No, it's a message. Run whatever government you want, but if you step out of line, if you start threatening us, if you build nuclear weapons, if you sponsor terror networks across the world, well, we'll press the big red button. It's just different. It's completely different. And I think if you are not admitting that, you're either not paying attention or you have some sort of other motive that's leading your method of thinking. This is a completely different situation. It feels less like a slow grind and more like total, utter domination. The gloves are completely off. And who knows, maybe it's going to work. Someone eventually is going to, take over Iran, the next Ayatollah or whatever, and they're going to realize the obvious reality of their situation. You can't fight a country that owns the air above your own capital. At some point, new leadership is going to have to realize that if they are to emerge, if they are to succeed, if they're going to pop their head out of that freaking little sand hole and survive, well, they're going to have to be a little bit pragmatic. Reform the country, stop playing your terrorist board games, actually engage with the world, join us at the adult table, act like normal freaking human beings instead of this evil empire, death to America nonsense. Maybe it's going to lead to the same situation we're seeing in Venezuela, total capitulation. And if that holds, well, what can I say other than it appears Cuba's next? The thought process has changed. Enough of this naive perspective as if these regimes are going to come to the table, as if they're going to negotiate on good faith. Well, maybe, just maybe, this president can force the outcome. We'll have to see. Anyways, that's what I got. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.
Okay, another important one on that one channel there. All right, I got Nick video. Not there.
Fire.
8
One,
minutes.
he backed Trump on the war. 2, he took shots at Kamala Harris. 3, he called out Adam Schiff and the entire Democrat Party, saying that the TDS Trump hatred is a complete and total eye roll at this point, and it's gotten very old. And the best of the best from last night is when he walked Adam Schiff, pencil neck, into the perfect trap by reading a quote from Obama and making him think it was a quote from Trump. So we're going to play all these clips. You guys got to see this. And I got to give credit to Bill Maher, because just recently Trump went on like an entire rant about Bill Maher, saying that the dinner that they had together was a waste of time. He's no better than Jimmy Kimmel, et cetera, et cetera. And I got to disagree with the president on this one, because I think the level of impartialness of Bill Maher is a real testament to his character. I disagree with him on a lot of things, but the fact that he's able to say that the president has done good and call out his own party, despite the fact that the president has directly come down on Bill Maher very recently, I got to give him some credit for this one. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let's go ahead and play the clips. And I think you guys are really, really going to enjoy this.
This statement from the administration: the president had the constitutional authority to direct the use of military force because he could reasonably determine that such use of force was in the national interest. That's too vague for you?
totally vague.
Okay, because that's from Obama about Libya.
Well, Obama made the argument initially.
Caught him slipping. He got him. I mean, that was the perfect trap.
Initially, that he could go into Syria without an authorization. I and many others pushed back on that argument. Ultimately, he did not go forward with going after Assad, even though Assad was gassing his own people, because he thought he might lose the vote in Congress. But I respect the fact that that was important to him, and the fact that he did not have the support of Congress meant that we weren't going to go forward.
Now, I think that Bill Maher should have just let him really hang himself there. He was too quick to tell him that it was a quote from Obama, and Adam Schiff just immediately pivoted to defending Obama and saying, actually, I think that it wasn't that vague. It was actually very specific, and it was a great decision from Obama. He didn't give him enough time to let it simmer, let it marinate, and let him really walk himself off a cliff. And I guarantee you that if he had waited a little bit longer to tell him, then Adam Schiff would have completely eviscerated himself, but it was still pretty damn good. Now, the next clip, we've got Bill Maher saying that he actually supports the war in Iran because he knows too many Iranians that are openly celebrating it. So if you want him to hate it, too bad he doesn't.
Also, this week, war. Did you hear about that thing? We bombed Iran, and it's going on. Now, have you expected me to say I hate it? I don't. Sorry. When he puts boots on the ground, yeah, then I'll hate it. Now, I know too many happy Iranian Americans. Sorry. And you cannot name one horrible thing that has happened in the Middle East in the last 50 years and not connect it to this fascist theocracy. They're like 6 degrees of they don't eat bacon. And it's popular. I mean, Iranians all over the world are doing the Trump dance. Have you seen that? The whole world is jerking off 2 guys at once now. It's amazing, yeah.
Okay, I know some of you guys are going to like that, but I look, he's a comedian, okay? It's jokes. Now, I have to say, I agree 100% with this. Now, my knee-jerk reaction to us striking Iran was, whoa, what are we doing here? This is not good. But I happen to know a couple of Iranian Americans, I should say, and I reached out to them to ask what they actually thought about it. And while I'm seeing all these videos on X of people dancing and celebrating in the streets, I'm thinking to myself, this could be propaganda, okay? We're in war, and the fog of war is thick, and the old saying goes that the first casualty of war is the truth. So I had to take that with a grain of salt. I wanted to consult real people with family in Iran that actually have a vested interest in the outcome of this situation. So I reached out to them, and sure enough, the reaction was that they are happy. They are genuinely happy that this is happening. And I'm talking about somebody who has family living in Iran right now as they're being bombed, as they're being striked. They have family in the mountains in hiding, and they are happy that we took out the Ayatollah. And they say, yeah, it's a shitty situation, but ultimately it's necessary, and they support it. So look, I feel the same way as Bill Maher. Let's reserve judgment for a bit. Let's let the man cook, let Trump cook, and see what happens. Now, this next clip, you've got Bill Maher calling out Adam Schiff for his TDS hatred and saying that it is a losing strategy for the Democrats at this point. Give it a rest. It's old. Everybody's tired of it. It's a complete and total eye roll at this point, and it just makes you look like a bunch of jackass.
The most affordable German engineered car brand is also the most fun. Get into.
I think the reality is you have to find a way to do both, stand up to Trump and also deliver for people.
Stand up, but I mean, don't you think after 10 years, it's just a little, I mean, it's a bit of an eye roll.
Well,
when people see that, they just think, that's all you got. That's all you Democrats have is fuck Trump. And we're looking for something different. It seems like Tallarico is making this case. And I think the fact that he won in Texas, I think says a lot.
And finally, we have a pretty funny clip where Bill Maher takes a shot at Kamala Harris for just being completely partisan, hating anything that Trump does simply on the basis that Trump did it, and just being completely out of touch as usual.
But, you know, when it comes to the war, when it comes to anything in this country, everybody assesses everything by way of, did my team do it? Then I love it. If their team did, I hate it. I mean, Kamala Harris made a statement. She said, this is a war the American people don't want. And who knows more about what the American people don't want?
And so you know it's bad when you've got a liberal Democrat TV host defending the president's decision to strike Iran, saying that if he can pull off what he did in Venezuela and have success in Iran and Cuba and all of the above, then he should get the Nobel Peace Prize. He said that as well on the show. He's criticizing their very own beloved Kamala Harris, who's their potential nominee for 2028, and saying that his own party has nothing to run on at this point. They have no policy. They don't stand for anything other than their hatred for the president and everything he does. They are in bad shape, ladies and gentlemen. And look, Bill Maher, love him or hate him, he's an old school liberal. He calls balls and strikes as he sees them, and he gets it wrong quite a bit. But at the same time, he's willing to crack jokes on both sides, and I really appreciate that. I like Stephen A. Smith. I like Bill Maher. Sometimes I even like Jon Stewart. They actually believe something. They actually stand for something, and they may not believe or stand for what I do, but at the same time, they have principles, and they often put their principles above the partisan politics, and that's very refreshing. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me know what you guys think about this down in the comment section. The internet is on fire right now over this, and I wanted to share it with you.
Okay, we got Nick in there tonight. We got a 2-minute one and I think an 8-minute one. Seven minutes.
Over safe transportation and whether electric vehicles are geared up for the cold. Joining us for Insight is Paul Fix, an automotive journalist with Car Coach Report. It's good to have you with us this morning, Paul. A number of electric buses couldn't run in the cold weather recently, and a watchdog group called Power the Future is criticizing the oversight of federal subsidy programs totaling more than $8 billion under the Biden administration towards these kinds of buses
don't work.
And transportation. I know your publication, Car Coach Reports, recently ran a story about e-buses in Vermont this winter. So lay the issue out for us briefly.
Yeah, there was billions of dollars that were allocated through the infrastructure bill from 2021, and it's slowly been going out to cities across the country, big and small. For instance, 100 buses are planned to be bought for Washington, D.C. 30 buses are planned to be bought or in the process of being bought for Seattle. And Burlington, Vermont, they got 5 buses for $8 million, which, you know, these buses are not cheap, whether they are diesel or electric, but it's still a lot of money to be throwing around. And there's been a lack of research done on how effective these buses are going to be, especially in the very cold winters that places like Burlington, Vermont do get. Now, there are effectiveness issues with these electric buses when it comes to the cold weather. Below 41 degrees, it can have issues with charging, and they won't charge as fast, and they won't have ranges that are as long. These electric buses in Burlington, Vermont, they're supposed to get 258 miles of range, which honestly is not that much. A diesel transit bus will get 3 times that amount in range and can be charged up in 10-20 minutes, fueled up in 10-20 minutes versus charging, which could take hours. They really planned for this. It seems like they jumped the gun and said, we need to try to push the agenda rather than trying to make an efficient use of our buses for the actual people using those buses. And all 5 of those buses, they're not being used this winter. It's too cold.
Right. So what operating environments would these electric buses actually be well suited for?
Yeah, more temperate climates or warmer climates, they definitely do a lot better. Unfortunately, the effective ranges of these buses, they're kind of narrow right now. The battery technology is still evolving. There's a lot of great strides being made in making these electric buses better, but unfortunately right now, they're not ready for prime time. So in temperate climates, they seem to do pretty well. They get their effective ranges. And there are some cases where people can get longer ranges depending on how they would drive their electric vehicles. But when it comes to a bus that's constantly starting and stopping and going up hills, and especially having to get around in the winter, it's going to be using extra power. Also with the heaters on board, right? And all of the other equipment that a bus needs in order to operate correctly. So they're never going to get their maximum 258 miles of electric range. And unfortunately, when it comes to public transit, people rely on that to get to their jobs, to go shopping, to visit their families. They need to have access to these tools. And when the transit authority, throws their hands in the air and says, well, yes, we've made a really smart decision here and we're saving the environment, but now people can't get to work, you have to question just how smart of a decision that is.
And just looking at this decision-making process, how should regulators design federal grant criteria so that transit agencies really have to prove real-world reliability, especially in winter and some of the other challenges you've laid out, before they can receive or keep the billions in electric bus subsidies that we've seen stall in here?
Yeah, there's a lot of money being thrown around right now, especially for charging facilities for these electric buses. And there's a lack of research and lack of understanding, especially from the general public, about exactly how effective these electric buses are. I think it could be worth it to do some more research, but the electric vehicles of this size for this level of rollout has not really been studied. So this is the study. This is the attempt right here to find a way to make it effective. And what we're finding is that it's not, at least in Vermont. We're going to see how things roll out in other areas. There's a town nearby me that's getting electric buses, and I'm sure there's one near you that's getting electric buses. They are really on a roll here, rolling out these, pardon the pun, rolling out these electric buses. And we need to really see the real world effects. Like I was saying, people aren't able to get to work because these vehicles can't charge effectively below 41 degrees. So they've been parked. And that's not effective for anybody.
What do you think viewers who may be concerned about this, in terms of grid reliability, energy security, what can they do, or what questions should they be asking their local officials?
Yeah, you should absolutely hold your officials accountable. If they want to move to an electric bus system, you should know that you're still going to be able to get around. In Burlington, for example, they replaced 10% of their fleet, which is those 5 buses that I mentioned, with these electric ones. And that's actually had a massive effect by cutting different lines for the transportation. So go tell your representatives that you're not happy with these decisions if it's affecting your life. If you're living in a more temperate climate, I really do hope that it hasn't affected your daily travels. But at the end of the day, this is your money. This is your tax dollars at work. And with this, I wouldn't call it experimental technology, but electric vehicles are still very new. And knowing exactly how far they can go and what they can do is still very limited. And the battery technology is still evolving. So maybe one day this will be an effective solution, but as of right now, keep a close eye on the situation, talk with your representatives, let them know how you feel.
Thank you so much, Paul Fix. Good to see you. See you soon.
Thanks so much.
If you like this video, give it a like and subscribe for more videos like this, and check out our car review channel, Car Smarts. You can support me by buying me a cup of coffee. And if you want even more content, check out the links in the description. I'm Lauren Fix. Thank you so much for watching.
Okay, I think I'm going to end it with that, you guys. Whoa, boy. 3 hours. Gone by so fast. A lot of good stuff tonight. Out of the 3 hours, we had another great show tonight. A lot of people were listening. So that's good news. So, about 5:30 or so tomorrow night. Have a good Sunday, and we'll We'll see you after dinner time. God bless everybody. Love all. Remember, please like. Please go to the description and sub to the backup channels. Thank you. And then the mods. Okay, Fonigo, Lori, or Carol, Tim, Lucy, and Watts, but he must be busy. And signing off. Rico do never give up. And have a good Sunday, everybody. We'll see you all tomorrow evening.